This will begin to make things right. Or will it? Today, we are going to be talking about the Star Wars sequel trilogy, the Disney era. So grab those snacks, get back to those seats. The lights are coming down. Silence those phones as Super Cinema Brothers starts now.
What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for any and everybody who's been watching our stuff. Surprisingly, it's yes, these videos are very long, but the fact that we've gotten the views that we have on those long videos, that's a triumph for me and for James. So I genuinely want to say
We're
thank you.
We're giving you all the information. We're breaking everything down for you here, leaving no stone unturned.
Yeah, seriously. And, thank you guys for, being so patient and everything. I know there were some audio issues. I've been very honest and upfront about things. Like, This is our first time doing this, guys. So I appreciate the grace and the good comments that people have left. And over time, I know that this will grow because.
Well, I think, too, it's a fun thing, too, right? Because as people watch this, they kind of get to see the evolution of the show from the very first one. And as we keep going, honing that craft, honing that skill, I think that's actually a fun part of this process. And especially for us, as we continue to do this, be able to look back on the first episodes and go, yikes, or ooh, or wow, or kind of see how far you've come along in the process.
Hell yeah, man. Actually, I thought about that when I was watching the first one. And I was like, oh, man, why didn't I we did that in the second one? Why didn't we do that in the first?
Yeah.
It's just a nice little thing. So once again, guys, before we get to this, I want to say thank you so much. Above all else, we're both very humble guys, and we appreciate all of the support and any feedback. I've gotten some very good positive feedback about the show and how James and I are blend very well together. That's really awesome to hear. And even with the audio issues, it still is a great and engaging show. Yes. So that is awesome. Thank you, guys.
I mean, guys, as we're doing this, we're finding our way. We're working our chemistry out, and as you guys will see, as each episode goes along, we're going to have more fun. They're going to be a lot more fluent. We're just finding our rhythm as we do each episode.
Yep, we're just finding the rhythm, and and with that, we are gonna get to this because I know that this is gonna be a really good one. All of them are being good, but this one's gonna be really good because I think for the first time we are both on opposite ends of the spectrum, and I mean completely opposite. But at the same time, I do share a lot of the criticisms with the sequel trilogy because there's just so many things when did Palpatine go off and shag somebody to have kids? But you know what? Whatever. We're gonna get to it.
He was doing it. If you can imagine, he was doing it in that nice red pimp robe that he had.
Oh God, I don't even want to think about that.
He was doing it in the private opera that he had going on there.
Oh yeah, the private opera theater where he lured in Anakin. But we're not gonna do that. So guys, you can tell that this one's gonna be really good. Yeah. But before we get to that, we've got a few topics that James and I are gonna get to.
Yeah.
And before anything else as well, like and subscribe and follow CineJamesMovieTalk on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube. He's a great reviewer. He goes in depth and he is very knowledgeable on movies, so definitely give him a shout. Tell him I sent you. He's got great content and more coming. And likewise with myself, please like and subscribe. And there's a lot of new things coming to the channel this year, especially with a drink competition I recently did and won, and waiting to hear on the second one. So we're gonna do some movies and drinks reviews. It's gonna be cool. So let's get to these movie topics first. James, why don't you start us off, buddy?
Will do. And before I do that, for those that are first time tuning in, this is how we do the layout of our show. We're going to start off with 3 topics revolving around current movie news, and then we are going to get into the main course of our show. So we are going to start this off with our first topic, and this is going to be on the new Resident Evil trailer. The new teaser trailer for Resident Evil has released, directed by Zach Kreger and releasing on September 18th of this year. This is the 3rd cinematic attempt of the iconic game series to the big screen. What are your thoughts on the trailer, and do you think 3rd time's a charm for this video game movie franchise?
I am kind of on the fence because I'm not the biggest Resident Evil fan, but at the same time, the games that I have played and the things that I have seen, I've loved. So just basic, excitement. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It looks pretty good. And I think I've heard a lot of people at my job, they were really big Resident Evil fans. And one guy actually somehow got his hands on the script, or at least a script for something. I don't even know what, but he showed it to me. And it actually is like a legit script. So he was reading it and he was hyped. We were prepping for work and he was just going off about it. And it just, so it looks and seems like it's going to be cool. I really hope that it does flow with the games. And I know that there was some Resident Evil stuff that came out years ago or something that a lot of fans were not happy with.
It was Resident, if I'm not mistaken, it was 20, and people can tell me if I'm wrong on this. I think it was 2021. It was called Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. I think that's what it was called.
Welcome to Raccoon City. Okay.
Yes, I think so.
I think you're right. Yeah. But like I see, there you go. Like, sorry guys, like I'm not the most well-versed. Like I know I'm well-versed with a lot of things, but like this is one of those that like, I mean, I know very minimal about, but what I do know, I like. So yeah, I know that people were quite disappointed with the previous stuff. So not all previous stuff, but I'm curious to see, because as time has gone on, I've seen people getting really hyped about this, just like getting hyped about Kingdom Hearts, which holy crap. But so those franchises, I know Resident Evil, Kingdom Hearts, all of that, they're really massive. So I think for the longtime fans, I'm hoping that it is what they've been looking forward to and what they've wanted to see. And I hope that this kind of washes the bad taste out of their mouth, if you will, from the previous bad installments. And what are your thoughts on Resident Evil? I don't know if you are like big into Resident Evil like some people are, or
well, I was. So as a kid of the 90s, Resident Evil was a big deal, and you would have to go back to that time. Resident Evil was a game that was really, we weren't ready for in 1996, 1997. It was really ahead of its time, and it was like we had Silent Hill before that. But Resident Evil was really like that first break, I guess, if you want to say mainstream survival horror. And I can remember playing it for the first time. And even then, like you just knew you were playing something special. You were really playing something different. And it gave you like that, some areas gave you kind of like that claustrophobic horror kind of deal. My all-time favorite Resident Evil and one of my all-time favorite games, and I kind of cycle back and play it every few years, the original Resident Evil 2. That game to me still is just absolutely amazing, no matter how many times I've played it. And I kind of lost out of Resident Evil kind of after the third one. I didn't really follow it after that. Yeah. I do, and I do remember the first movies that they did, Paul Anderson movies. I didn't mind the first one. I might be in the minority on this. I actually did like Resident Evil 2, the second one they did. And then kind of after that, I don't really remember too much of the sequels that followed. I'd have to go back and rewatch them. I just kind of went away from them, I guess, if you will. I was just kind of like, okay. But I do actually don't mind the first two. The one that they did, Welcome to Raccoon City, was a dud. Again, the Resident Evil is that series that when you think about it, you think of all the potentials you can do with it.
Yeah. And
they don't ever really seem to hit the mark. And watching this trailer, it is kind of an interesting take. Now, I'm saying that because I've not played a lot of the later installments of the game, so maybe some of this stuff in this trailer ties into some of the stuff in the game, but it had a different look to me. And I also kind of like that, again, we talked, as I mentioned earlier, that it kind of has like that claustrophobic kind of feel to it. So I am interested, and I'm going to check this out. I'm going to see it. Do I think it's going to revitalize a whole franchise? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be needed with this. It's possible this could be a one and done movie. We'll see how it ends. I think it'll do all right. Again, it's releasing around that Halloween time of year. So anytime you take a horror movie and you release it around that time, I think that can do good because people are looking for that atmosphere and that feel. And from the trailer, this does look like it presents that. Again, though, but how much it sticks to the lore of the game, that's where it's going to be interesting. This could be one of those movies where a moviegoer may enjoy it, but perhaps maybe someone that's really into the games may not. This could be something that's split. So it is going to be interesting to see, but I don't know if it's really going to fully revitalize the video game franchise. And at this point, I don't really know if that's what they're looking for. I don't really know if they need to.
Yeah. Good points. Good point.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please, please.
No, yeah, no. I was gonna say. I mean, that's basically it for me with Resident Evil. Like my buddy at work, Lewis, he's really cool. He is trying to get into filmmaking, and he has a PSP or something. I can't remember if it's the DS2 or I don't think. Oh yeah, it might be. Anyway, he's playing Resident Evil 4 on it, and he was showing me, and I was just like, oh wow, like that. First of all, the quality of that game and how it looks on this like handheld device is amazing, and it's just the way how the game looks. It's like he was like, I hope they model it like this, you know. So to end off my thoughts, at least, it's like I hope that they do that for the fans like him and like you, and that you like who have actually kind of grown up and played these and we're into them, you know.
Okay, good. Yeah. You ready for the next topic, sir?
Oh yes, let's get it.
All right, so now the next one's going to be on the new horror movie Obsession, written and directed by Curry Barker. Had its opening this past weekend. It currently is doing well with an opening weekend box office of $17.2 million on a, get this, $750,000 budget.
That's crazy.
Are you surprised by its opening weekend box office numbers, and do you think it will continue to do well at the box office?
I am not even slightly surprised at the box office numbers, and I think it is going to continue to set records. And honestly, I think it's probably one of the best horror films of the decade. And that might be a hot take. That might be not be a hot take. I don't know. I don't care. I think it is genuinely one of the, because it's such a like great psychological horror film, and it's so like realistic in a weird way, right? Like it is so realistic because a lot of people, myself included, when I was way younger, like when I got into college and, you know, girls started really paying attention to me, I was like, oh, I want her to be, you know, do exactly what I, you know, and the same thing with other women. They wanted me to do exactly what they wanted and, you know, be like a toy soldier, if you will. And it's like, first of all, no. Second of all, hell no. Like, we're not doing that. But this movie just captured such great essence of horror, psychological breaks, just psychotic nature, and just I hate to, you know, put it on the nose, but obsession, like, you know, being obsessed with somebody. And it's just crazy how this actress, I first saw her in Superman and Lois, and she was Lana Lang's daughter, and I was like, oh, okay, she's pretty good, you know, especially alongside the Kent kids. And this is a better CW series than any of the other superhero ones besides the Flash. And we're gonna have to have a thing on that, bro. I'm sorry, I don't know if you've seen any of those, but oh man, I can go in about that. But anyway, yeah, dude, she did a great job in Superman and Lois, and I've been like, you know, I would like to see her in some more stuff. And I didn't realize that she was in like 13 Reasons Why and a lot of other things that I've seen her in. But she is phenomenal. Like, I mean, she killed that role.
She makes this movie. She hands down makes this movie. Hands
down. And I mean, after Obsession, it's one of those times where it's like, how do I put, maybe like Michael Jackson in a way, like you can not get whatever you want, but like you will go somewhere, or you can apply for something. You might not even need to apply for a role after that, at least for the next 3 to 5 years, I'm going to say.
And her name is, her name, if I say it correctly, and I may be pronouncing it wrong, is Inde Navarrete. I think it's Inde Navarrete or Navarrete.
I can't. Yeah. I've heard somebody say it once, and I haven't really looked it up how to properly say it. I usually do, guys, before doing movie reviews, you know, to try and.
Yeah, and I think with this movie, here's what's really unique about this movie is the budget of this movie and what it's delivering for its budget. And it goes kind of to that thing is that you don't have to have a big budget to make an awesome movie. This goes into what we talk about a lot of times, where this is where it's really important to come up with a story, have a plot, and how movies really need to revolve around storytelling, right? Amen. And I think when I seen this movie, I had a good time with it. I like it's one of those that, does it have some of the kind of horror movie tropes in a little bit? Here and there it does, but it's got like it's got a really cool story that, like, as you just mentioned, a lot of people can relate to. And that's the thing about this. It takes what we all can relate to, and it kind of takes it to an extreme, right? Because but it follows that one thing of when we have an attachment to someone, or we want someone to really like us, we always have that, like, I wish. And this is kind of that thing of, this is what happens when you want that wish, and and I guess you want to say the consequences that could come along with that.
Mhm.
And I think that, but I think again, though, I like the whole cast in this movie, but I think the way she portrays Nikki in this, I think had it been someone else, or had they gone a different route, I don't know if this movie would feel the same way. She really makes this movie. And what I like about this movie too is this is a good movie, and it's not a I don't know if I want to say how I want to say it's not like a jump scare supernatural gotcha movie. Now you could say there could possibly be maybe some small traces of some kind of supernatural stuff in it with the wish thing. You could say that possibly, but her portrayal and her character in this, it's not based on visual jump scares. It's not based on any kind of like possession type look kind of things to it. It's really just the way she's taking this character, like in her smiles, in her emotions, her tones. I like, I think some of the moments, for example, in this movie, like when you see her off in the distance behind, that's what makes this movie, I think, have some of the creepy elements to it, and what I think makes it really good. And not to spoil anything for those that haven't seen this movie yet, but the way this movie ended, wow. Wow. And I think that it also too, it didn't end in that stereotypical way. This movie for me ended in a way that I know we play with fire a little bit when we say we want a sequel, because they'd always sometimes don't turn out the way the original does. But this movie ended in a way where I was like, I want to know what happens next.
Yeah, for sure.
Where are we going next? And I do believe I believe there is a conversation happening on a sequel to this movie. But I had a good time with this, and when I seen it, I'm not surprised with the way it's doing in the box office. And again, to go back to it, I'm really impressed that they were able to deliver this movie on, if you think about it in Hollywood terms, in Hollywood scale, a shoestring budget.
Yeah, no, that's basically exactly what it is.
Yes. You ready to get on to the next topic, sir? Our final topic?
I'm gonna finish my one thought on this.
Yep, sure, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
The whole budget is, I'm so thoroughly impressed. And I mean, the director, he felt bad, like he couldn't really pay people like outright just yet, and I mean, the fact that he was able to shell out that much, I mean, he's a great YouTuber, so I mean, it makes sense. But the idea behind the budget, like some movies, they spend like upwards of like 200, 300 mil on a movie, which is crazy, but then it does like 10 mil. You know what I mean? Like,
speaking of what you just said, you just touched on something when you say he was a YouTuber. Have you noticed something recently that we've seen with Obsession? And even though we're not going to touch on it, but Backrooms.
Yeah.
Have you noticed something with this? Is that we're getting these movies not from like acclaimed Hollywood directors or established Hollywood directors. We're getting them from people that did YouTubes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about Backrooms, for example, he's 20 years old.
It's crazy.
Kane, I believe it's Kane Parsons, I believe. He's 20 years old, and he did Backrooms off of a YouTube web series. That's what's impressive about where we're going, and where I hope we continue to go in the Hollywood scene, where we're getting these younger directors coming in, and they have these visions and they have these creativities. Because I think sometimes in Hollywood and with our movies, we kind of rehash and kind of go back to the drawing board and we have kind of the same rinse, lather, repeat with a lot of movies, and some of those end up being good. Don't get me wrong, but I like what we're seeing here with Obsession and with Backrooms, where we're getting kind of, in a sense, we're getting a lot more of original storytelling, original movies. And we're starting to get, I think, and I hope we're getting to a time where we're starting to get these new creative minds coming into Hollywood.
Amen. The next two filmmakers right here, the Big Rob Theory and CineJames. You heard it first.
Absolutely. Sign us up. Sign us up. All right. We're going to get to our next topic here, and we're going to talk about Disclosure Day. The alien epic by Steven Spielberg releases in less than a month on June 12th. As we gear up for summer blockbuster season, how well do you think it will do at the box office? Keep in mind, it will be running against Masters of the Universe. We just talked about Obsession. We just talked real quick about Backrooms, Mandalorian and Grogu, the new Scary Movie, and then Supergirl that's going to follow it a couple weeks after. So with this lineup going into the summer, this is a Steven Spielberg epic. How do you think it's going to do at the box office?
Okay. I love Steven Spielberg. That
Sure.
man, I don't want to say that he can't do no wrong, but like, come on, he is anything that Steven Spielberg touches, there's either something or everything about it that is great. Like there's
Mhm.
something, like, you know what I mean? Like there's things in it throughout or whatever that are great. However, it going against all those movies, I'm not so sure that it's going to do so great. And here's why. Because a lot of things are coming out this year that are
Yeah.
huge. I mean, huge. And yes, while that Disclosure Day is a great concept and it's something that everybody loves, and I just don't personally think it is going. I'm not saying it's going to do bad. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to do bad,
Sure.
but I just don't think it's going to hit the nail on the head, especially after Obsession and with He-Man Masters of the Universe coming out and with Supergirl coming out a few weeks later and the Scary Movie. Come on, everybody's been waiting for another Scary Movie. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
I don't think even the marketing for it hasn't been
Yeah.
absolutely great, which is kind of crazy to me, especially for a Steven Spielberg film.
Sure.
But yeah, I just not for anything else. I don't think that it's going to hold up to all of the other movies surrounding it.
Mhm.
What do you think?
So I'm along the same lines with you again. I mean, Steven Spielberg. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he's the GOAT when it comes to movie directors. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's going to do good regardless.
he's in the top. I mean, if anything, he's in that top 3% of all-time greatest movie directors. So when he does something, of course, it's going to be epic. But I don't think this has that epic feel to it. And like I give you a comparison, for example. We're going to go back in time a little bit. Jurassic Park. That was epic. The trailer, everything that set up, that was a Steven Spielberg epic. This, to me, just watching the trailer, and we always tie in epic and Steven Spielberg because of the respect of Steven Spielberg, but this doesn't feel epic to me. This doesn't have that same gravitas, that same scale, and especially when you compare it to the other movies it's running up against, like Masters of the Universe, Mandalorian and Grogu. Of course, when we get to Supergirl, when we talk about like the scale like of the visual and all that other stuff, just kind of feels. I mean, it looks pretty cool, but this just kind of feels like this is just going to be an average level movie to me. Like I said, I'm sure visually it's going to look. I'm sure visually it's going to look good. Steven Spielberg movie. But it just to me, and I don't mean this in any wrong way. I don't know if when it comes to the summertime and down the road he may deliver us something that's absolutely beyond amazing. It's Steven Spielberg, but I don't feel like this Steven Spielberg movie has the same epic tie into a summer blockbuster as like we talked about with like Jurassic Park, things like that. So I think it's going to do okay. I don't know if it's going to hold a #1 spot at the box office with what it's running up against, but I think it'll have like a run of a couple days where it's going to do good. But I think this is just going to kind of be a mid-level summer movie.
Agreed. Yeah, there's for my final thoughts on that are, yeah, I agree. There's just so many other movies running against it that I'm sorry, it's not going to stand out. I mean, sorry, I apologize. It will stand out because it's a Steven Spielberg film, but it's not going to stand out drastically amongst everything else that surrounds it. That's it.
Yeah, agreed. All righty, sir. Ready to get into some Star Wars?
Yeah, I am. Are you?
So before we get into the Star Wars sequel trilogy, before we start our first one talking about Episode 7, I'm gonna kind of run through just some of the little backstories leading up to Episode 7 and where we were at the time. So this was a big deal. When Disney purchased Star Wars, this was a big deal, and they purchased. So we're gonna go back to 2012, October 30th, 2012. Disney purchases Star Wars. Do you know for how much?
Man, I knew way back when it happened, but man, I
think about 4.05 billion. 4.05 billion. And then it was also on this same day They bought Star Wars, and then on the same day they announced Star Wars Episode 7.
Yeah,
Now
that's
this was
great.
in 2012, and I can remember this was the biggest story. And then still, if you think about it in movie histories and acquisitions and everything, this right here definitely has to go down as one of the biggest. I mean, you have when they obviously when they acquired Marvel, when they acquired Fox, but this is kind of what this is. This was a really a big deal because it was also a big deal too because now us as fans, we're sitting there going, "Wow, George Lucas doesn't have this anymore."
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
the Lucas, like he gave up his baby, like he sold away his baby. But we were also in the other sense, like there was a level of excitement because Disney had this now. So to have the excitement of what Disney was going to do with it, what it was going to bring to the parks, all that whole cumulative stuff. This was an exciting deal, and it was also exciting to hear them talk about we're going back. We're episode 7. They were already off and running. They weren't wasting any time at all.
Zero time.
Yes. So we get some time going by after this, and then all this stuff when we started getting into again, this is kind of almost going back to when episode 1 released with the prequels. There was so much hype, build up, speculations, and then when we got those teaser trailers and those first trailers, they were some of the most hype trailers. And now we're in an era now where, and I'm not mistaken to this day still, I think the episode 7 teaser or the regular trailer, I think is still to this day one of the most viewed trailers of all time. I believe so. I don't know what that number is, but when we talk about these trailers though, in this trailer, and I remember seeing the trailer as a diehard Star Wars fan, and I remember when I saw the trailer, I thought we're back. Star Wars is back because of how it looked. And you got to kind of remember at this time too, we were still very bitter about the prequels. The prequels were still fresh in that. Now, as we talked about in our previous episodes, over time, the prequels have grown a love. People have gotten soft with the prequels. But at this time, we weren't. Because that was what we were left with. And so when the Star Wars fans seeing this trailer, we're like, we're back. Just the way it looked. You could see the grittiness. You could see it looked, the visual look of it. And even J.J. Abrams said as much, that he was going back to a lot of the visual and practical, like the practical effects. This, when you look at it, I mean, obviously you're not going to mirror what was done in the original trilogy because of the time and the era it was shot in, but this felt like that original trilogy feeling. And then of course, when we watch the one trailer, I don't care what Star Wars, I don't care who you are as a Star Wars fan. We all got emotional, and the best part of that trailer was when Han and Chewie got on the Falcon and said,
"Chewie, we're home.
We're home." And that was also like, that was for Star Wars fans that had a deeper meaning. That was, we're back. We have the original cast back, and just seeing that scene alone made Star Wars fans happy, and it gave us a really sense of comfort seeing what J.J. Abrams and Disney was getting ready to do with this. So merchandise sales for episode 7.
Oh God.
They did between 3 to 5 billion in merchandise sales, 700 million in toy sales alone. It's absolutely, we talk about this a lot of times, but how big in scale and the power of what Star Wars is. 3 to 5 billion in merchandising. Okay. Do you know, so I don't know where this stands as far as records. I think it's up there. Do you know how much it made just in pre-sale tickets? Want to take a guess?
Episode 7?
Yes.
Oh my God, no. But I am going to take a guess though. I'm going to say maybe upwards of 100 million.
You are correct, sir. $100 million in pre-sale tickets.
Damn, look at that. Should play the lottery.
$100 million. And give you comparison. There's a lot of movies that don't even box office $100 million. If you think about some movies, there's some movies that don't box office $100 million. And Star Wars Episode 7 did it just in pre-sale tickets alone. So this basically set up the hype for Star Wars was that. And we were also cited too that J.J. Abrams, that was the other cool thing. J.J. Abrams was going to take the helm of this because
Yeah.
being a Star Wars fan, you know, you kind of have Star Trek and Star Wars, Trekkies and Star Wars. But I got to say, being a diehard Star Wars fan, I enjoyed what he did at that time with the Star Wars movie or Star Trek movies.
Absolutely.
Visually, they looked really good. And so we were really excited for this. So Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, released on December 18th, 2015, with a runtime of 2 hours and 16 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
This had a budget. Get ready for this. This had a budget between 447 and 533 million. Now, do you want to take a guess on what its box office was?
It's got to be close to $1 billion.
Oh, my friend, you're going to have to go higher than that.
Yeah. 40 billion.
Yeah, so this had a box office of 2.071 billion with a B.
Okay. I guess that makes
putting
sense.
Putting it as one of the highest grossing films of all time. 2.71 billion.
Yeah, 40 billion would have been insane. That's oh my god. I mean, it makes sense. It's Star Wars. Like it's Star Wars. Like I can't.
Absolutely. So,
oh my god.
All right. Let me give you the plot rundown. Let me give you the rundown here of this right here. And just for our audience that knows, when I do these, and Robbie knows this, I do these plots freehand. I don't go look them up. I don't go copy anything else. Like I actually go through, watch the movie, kind of spot watch the movie, and I come up with the plot synopsis. So there's a lot of time that goes into coming up with giving you guys the plot because we want to make sure we deliver you an awesome show. And I don't want to go out copying and pasting things. So I actually take the time to deliver and put together this plot. So we are going to get into this. The Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, taking place 30 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. The Resistance, led by General Leia Organa, sends her best pilot, Poe Dameron, on a mission to Jakku to retrieve the map that leads to the location of the legendary Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. In pursuit of the map is also Kylo Ren and the First Order, risen from the ashes of the Empire. Kylo Ren captures Poe as Poe's faithful droid BB-8 escapes with the map to Skywalker. During this, the First Order stormtroopers, under the order of Ren, massacres the people in this small area, but one trooper, known as FN-2187, does not open fire, and this draws attention from his commanding officer, Captain Phasma. We then go back to Jakku, where we get introduced to Rey, the scavenger, as she is making her way through an old Imperial ship. After she takes her findings into town to sell for food portions, she returns to her home, which is an old Imperial AT-AT Walker. He encounters BB-8. Kylo Ren, through force manipulation with Poe, finds out that the map to Skywalker is in the BB droid and charges General Hux to locate the droid. FN-2187, going by the name Finn, helps Poe escape via a TIE fighter. While escaping, they are shot down and land on Jakku. Thinking Poe dead, Finn heads off on his own. Poe makes his way into town where he encounters Rey and BB-8. Claiming he is with the Resistance, he helps Rey and BB-8 escape pursuit by the First Order. They then escape Jakku by means of an old junker ship, the Millennium Falcon. As they escape the First Order, they are captured by a large freighter ship. As they hide in the Falcon, they are boarded by none other than Chewbacca and Han Solo. Chewie, we're home. Upon getting the Falcon back, Han and Chewie are confronted by multiple gangs in which Han and crew escape via the Falcon. We then go to Supreme Leader Snoke, in which he reveals to Kylo Ren that the droid is now in the hands of his father, Han Solo, revealing that Kylo Ren is the son of Han Solo. Han and crew make their way to the planet of Takodana to seek help from Maz Kanata. While at Maz's castle, Rey ventures and finds the legendary lightsaber of Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, before him. Frightened by what she sees, she wants nothing to do with it and runs off. While Rey runs, we are then taken to General Hux, is giving a speech to the First Order as they demonstrate their new weapon on Starkiller Base. They wipe out several planets, including the base of the Republic on Hosnian Prime. Back on Takodana, the First Order appears to attack. As the attack ensues, the Resistance appears and is able to fend off the First Order. However, Kylo Ren has captured Rey. The First Order leaves as we get a reunion between Leia and Han. We then go back to Kylo Ren as he tries to force to manipulate information out of Rey. She's able to block his power as he leaves in frustration and realizes something is special about her. We go back to Rey where she uses a Jedi mind trick to get the Stormtrooper to release her, realizing within herself that she has special abilities. We go back to the Resistance base where they plan to attack and destroy Starkiller Base as the First Order is charging the weapon to target their base next. Han and crew make their way onto Starkiller Base where they capture Captain Phasma and get her to lower the shields to the base. With the shields now lowered, the Resistance begins their assault. We go back to Han and crew as they set the charges to blow up the base from within. While setting the charges, Han encounters his son, in which Kylo Ren, also known as Ben Solo, ignites his lightsaber, killing his father. We then go outside of the base where both Rey and Finn confront Kylo Ren. Rey is knocked out as Finn draws Skywalker's lightsaber and duels with Ren. Ren, overpowering Finn, slices Finn in the back with his saber, knocking Finn out. As Kylo reaches for Skywalker's saber, we then see it fly into the hands of Rey as she ignites a saber and duels with Ren. Meanwhile, the Resistance fighters, led by Poe, continue their attack and blow up Starkiller Base. We go back to the duel with Kylo and Rey, where Rey is able to overpower Kylo Ren, leaving their duel in a draw as the planet crumbles around them. Rey escapes with Finn from the help of Chewie and the Falcon as Starkiller Base is destroyed. We then return to the Resistance base where R2-D2 awakens and with BB-8 display the entire map to the location of Luke Skywalker. With this information, Rey and Chewie head to Ahch-To, where Rey finds Luke Skywalker and attempts to hand Luke back his lightsaber. The end.
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts? What you have to think? What you think about Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens?
So I'm gonna tell you guys a little story here. So when this was announced, I believe I was still living in Fort Myers. I was still living in Fort Myers, and that was a weird time in my life. And so, I mean, a lot of my nerdy things got shot down because of the people I was with, whatever. But this revitalization of Star Wars didn't just feel like a revitalization of Star Wars. It also felt like a revitalization of myself too, because I love Star Wars. I love nerdy things, and I kind of lost sight of who I was and then regained it. And then I heard the announcement of this, and it just blew my mind. And going to see this in theaters, my God, it's just like that. It was one of the greatest theater experiences like that. Spider-Man No Way Home. When I just when we just saw so many different nerdy movies that were just so iconic, man. This movie was just beautiful to see. It was very reminiscent of A New Hope. Yeah. And it just, and I think that's why it did so well. One, it played it safe. It played it exceedingly safe. And I can respect that and appreciate that drastically.
It almost had to, and not to interrupt, but you think about it, it for the most part, it had to, right? Because think of the pressure. I couldn't imagine the pressure that was on them to deliver this movie. Because again, what the bad taste that the prequels left with a lot of people. You have J.J. Abrams and Disney had a lot of pressure to deliver this movie. Because I mean, if you think about it, had this movie not delivered, setting up the tone of what people may think is going to be Disney for the rest of the series. So there was a lot of pressure to get this movie off the ground. So I think the smart thing that they did on this was I don't think they had a choice but to not play it safe. You know what I mean? They had to on this. But please continue.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I mean, normally I'd be like, no, just go for it. But with certain things, you do have to play it safe. Mm-hmm. Just like with the Superman movie that came out last year. I mean, they did somewhat play it safe, but I also kind of went a little bit above and beyond with certain things. And I mean, despite what people say, I love it. I loved it. Mm-hmm. And this movie, The Force Awakens, it was oh my God, who is this Kylo Ren guy? And what the hell? This is cool. And then Rey, who's Rey? You know what I mean? And then Finn,
Right.
I mean, when you see Finn pick up that lightsaber and ignite it, oh my God. I can remember the theater experience. People went insane. It's just you after episode 6, I'm sorry, excuse me. After episode 3, guys, excuse me. You know, that was the best of the prequels by far, without question, without a doubt. And it was like, oh man, that was great. But man, you know, the other two were for some people. So we're just like, okay, this is what we're left with this. And then I think the Clone Wars came out after that, and that, you know, people went crazy over that.
Yeah.
Man, the unification of the fandom. I think that's one of the very few times where, yes, all fandoms are toxic, and even more so nowadays, people think that it's just cool and popular to hate on things that are cool and whatever that people like. But when the trailer came out and all the news about it, that's one of the few times that I think almost everywhere I saw people were like, I can't wait for this. This is going to be great. I feel like a kid again. I feel so excited. I feel like, you know, it was just so good. And then the ending of it, you know, you have Rey meeting up with Luke Skywalker and handing him a lightsaber. Like, what in the hell, bro? Like, that is just
yes. I like this movie a lot. I actually, when this came out, I saw this movie in theaters. I want to say like 3 or 4 times. Like, I enjoyed this movie, and I felt, as a Star Wars fan, I felt we're back. This is the movie we needed. This is what we needed. And yes, does it follow a lot of the same beats as A New Hope? Absolutely. I understand that criticism. But again, it played it safe and it delivered to us, because that's what this movie needed to do. It needed to ingrain in us and deliver to us that Star Wars is back, that we can have a good Star Wars movie. And that's what this did. Now, does it have its problems?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. It absolutely does. But overall, I had a very fun time with this movie, and I still do when I watch it. I would say out of the Disney era, this is the one I've watched the most. I think it's a fun ride for me from start to finish. It's got a lot of feel good moments. It's got, I mean, you think about it. I mean, my gosh, it's got 2 big moments in this. 3, I think, if you want to think about it. I mean, there's a lot of other moments, but I'm just thinking in my head, like the Chewie were home when they got on the screen. And I remember, I don't know what it was like for you at your theater, but I remember, first off, I remember being in the theater, and I was at a packed theater opening night. I remember. And again, lights come down. We get the Star Wars, and everyone's going crazy. And this was a movie, though, that as it was going, like, you had those moments with the crowd. And when Han and Chewie got on the screen and said Chewie were home, the audience clapped. The audience cheered. We cheered when we got the reunion with Han and Leia. And of course, like I remember being in the theater I was in when the audience gasped when Han Solo was killed.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And then I can remember again at the end when we get to see Luke Skywalker. And I think what they did and how they did Luke in this movie was absolutely great. Absolutely great. I don't think you could have done it any other way. There's only one thing I maybe would have thought would have maybe been really cool, but it's not a bad thing, is when we get to the duel with Ren, Finn, and Rey, like when he knocks Finn out and he's trying to reach for the lightsaber and it's pulling and it shoots past him. How cool would it have been if that had been Luke Skywalker?
In the movie, when we were watching it, I thought Luke was gonna pop up. I really did.
That would have been really cool. But I'm cool with what we got. And everything. And of course, again, seeing the Falcon again, that whole scene with the Falcon and the visuals they did when they were flying it around on Jakku. That was awesome, because we got visuals in the Falcon this time was shot in ways that it wasn't shot in the original trilogy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. I like the chemistry with Poe and Finn. Give me, like, that's almost like another one of those things where, like, give me a buddy cop. A movie with those two.
Oh my god!
And I like the chemistry with Finn and Rey. And the one thing I like about this movie too, and where we're gonna have, in my opinion, we're gonna have a big contrast when we get to The Last Jedi, is the way they interjected humor into this. That it wasn't forced. It had subtle humor moments here and there. Their dialogues. It just, to me, this was, I think, again, despite the issues that it does have, it just seemed to me like it was, I don't want to say perfect, but it just had that nice mix. It had that nice blend. And whereas when I walked out of the prequel movies, kind of disappointed and like, this is what we got, walked out of this one going, this is what we got. Wow. And I remember, again, to contrast, when the prequel movies ended, it was kind of quiet. When Force Awakens ended,
eruption,
clapping. Like, this was absolutely a fun ride. And there's some things, again, like I said, there's some things again that I wish they would have done. For example, I wish we would have gotten some explanation of how the First Order came to be. Why there's a resistance, why the Republic is not more forefront, because those are some things that I wish we would have gotten a little more expansion on. Now I know that they do tell some of those things in like some of the audio books, and I understand all that, but that stuff should also be explained in the movies, because there's a lot of fan base that doesn't go into that lore of reading audio books or listening to the books or reading the books and all those things. I wish that we would have gotten some more context to that. I understand some of the criticisms that people get with Rey calling her a Mary Sue. I understand some of it, but I'm not that mad about it. Okay. But I understand those criticisms, but I think that what we got with Rey in this movie, I liked it. I like what I understand a lot of things were kind of on the nose, like, she's able to fly the Falcon really good. Like, she's able to do all these things really good. And I think some of the stuff, it would have been kind of cool to see some of the stuff get a little bit more earned. I understand that. But I also look at it in the context too of she's in tune with the Force, but she doesn't know it. And that may also be why she has these abilities, she has these things to do. And again, the Force awakens. And that's what I like when she realizes towards the last half of the movie that, oh, I have this power. And you could look at it and say, if you wanted to defend the Mary Sue thought, that she's able to do these things because she has the Force within her. She's in tune with the Force. She just doesn't know it. And that's why she's able to do. But we also don't get any context to her training and her stuff before that. We don't know what her life was on Jakku before we meet up with her. We don't know those things. But overall, I have a good time with this movie. I still have a good time with this movie. The feeling I got seeing this in the theater and sharing that with fans was absolutely fantastic. I think overall, again, we can take the criticisms of they played it safe. It's a mix. It's almost a rehash of episode 4, but that's what this needed to be to get us off the ground and running. That's what this movie needed to be, and they delivered it.
Yep. Nostalgia always does well. It always does well. And it is a good thing to lean on, just not to use as a massive crutch, Sure. But I think for the purposes of this movie, like you said, works like a charm. And that's probably why people loved it so much and why it's so well received, is because it was very reminiscent of episode 4. And I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. Like, it really gave you a new version of A New Hope, and A New Hope in Star Wars.
Yep. That's it. So we have all the feel good of episode 7. Man, we are really going to shift gears here and we talk about episode 8.
Oh boy.
Oh man. All that. Oh wow. Man, do I have a lot to say about this one. So you ready, my friend? Are you ready to talk about Star Wars episode 8?
I'm curious to hear what you say about some people in this photo here. Let's get to it.
Okay, so I'll tell you. I'll go through it in a minute. But here we have Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi, released on December 15th, 2017, with a runtime of 2 hours and 32 minutes. This one had a budget of $317 million, with a box office of $1.334 billion. So still did. I mean, wow. At the box office. Episode 7 was directed by J.J. Abrams. This one now had, if I say his name right, I think it's Ryan or Rian. I think it's Ryan Johnson at the helm of this one. All right, we are going to get into the plot here for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Taking place immediately after the events of The Force Awakens, we find Commander Poe Dameron attacking the First Order led by General Hux. Poe gives a straight-on attack of the First Order's dreadnought while disobeying General Leia's orders to disengage. Poe, along with bombers, are able to destroy the dreadnought, but at the cost of many Resistance lives. While fleeing the First Order via lightspeed, we go to Finn, who has awakened from healing from his wounds at the hands of Kylo Ren. We then go to Ahch-To, where we see Rey handing Luke his lightsaber, in which he then tosses it behind him and walks off. Rey follows him to his hut, where Rey tells him he was sent by Leia and that the Resistance needs his help. We go to Supreme Leader Snoke as he speaks with Kylo Ren, as Snoke voices his displeasures of Kylo and attacks him with Force lightning. Kylo, leaving very upset and in a fit of rage, destroys his helmet. We go back to Rey continuing to try to convince Luke to help the Resistance. He continues to decline and goes off as Rey continues to follow him. She then finds the Jedi text as Luke tells her that he cannot teach her and that he came to the island to die and that it is time for the Jedi to end. We go back to Leia and find the Resistance as they, while traveling through lightspeed, have been located by the First Order. They have discovered that the First Order is able to track them through lightspeed. Kylo Ren leads the attack, and as he has the clear shot to open fire on Leia's ship, sensing his mother, he does not fire. Instead, his fighters open fire and blast Leia into space. With the Force, she is able to guide herself back to the ship, where she collapses, placing her unconscious in medical care. Back on Act 2, Luke makes his way onto the Falcon and reunites with R2-D2, in which R2 plays the old clip of Leia that was first shown to him years ago in A New Hope. Luke then agrees to train Rey in the way of the Jedi with 3 lessons. Back with the Resistance, Vice Admiral Holdo is now in command in replace of Leia. Finn, in wanting to find Rey, is attempting to flee the ship when he encounters Rose. She stuns Finn, and as she learns his plans to escape, as she is planning to take Finn to the brig for desertion, they discuss how to stop the First Order from tracking them through lightspeed. They discuss their plan with Poe, but realize they need a code breaker to make a plan work. But know they must keep this plan secret from Admiral Holdo. They contact Maz Kanata, in which she gives them the location of the master codebreaker they need. We return to Ahch-To, where Rey wakes up and has her first Force DM with Kylo Ren. Rey then begins her training with Luke. While during her first lesson, he sees her power pull to the dark, and her strength to the dark scares him. We go back to the Resistance fleeing from the First Order as Finn and Rose sneak off via lightspeed to Canto Bight on their mission. We arrive on Canto Bight, which is a high-end gambling city. They locate the master codebreaker, but are apprehended by security and taken away. We return to Rey continuing her training, where Luke tells her the vanity of the Jedi and tells her what happened at his Jedi temple with him and Ben. We go back to the First Order, continuing to take down the Resistance ships who are running out of fuel. Back on Canto Bight, Finn and Rose are held in captivity as they meet DJ, who happens to be a codebreaker. DJ helps them escape captivity, and through a series of events, they end up escaping Canto Bight. We go back to Ahch-To, where Luke reaches out with the Force to communicate with Leia. As that is going on, Kylo and Rey have another Force conversation in which Kylo tells his version of what happened to him and Luke at the Jedi Temple. Rey then ventures down into a pit of darkness, searching for the truth of her parents, only to find nothing. She returns back to a Force chat with Kylo as Luke intervenes, ending the chat. Rey confronts him about what happened with Ben. Luke tells her to leave as she begins a fight with him. Luke then admits to Kylo Ren's accounting of what happened at the temple. She tells Luke that if she goes to Ben Solo, he will turn back to the light. He then gets into the Falcon, leaving Luke and Ahch-To behind. Luke then goes to destroy the tree containing the Jedi text as he is met by Master Yoda. Yoda then destroys the tree. One second here. Yoda then destroys the tree and then gives Luke words of guidance. Rey then lands on Snoke's ship via a pod from the Falcon and is met by Kylo Ren. Back on the Resistance ship, Poe commits mutiny against Admiral Holdo. We go to Finn, Rose, and DJ disguised as First Order officers aboard Snoke's ship as they go to disable the ship from light speed tracking. Back on the Resistance ship, Admiral Holdo attempts to take the ship back over. Meanwhile, Finn, Rose, and DJ are captured by Captain Phasma. Back on the Resistance ship, Leia awakens and stuns Poe, ending his mutiny. We go back to Snoke's ship, where Snoke, Rey, and Kylo are in Snoke's throne room as Snoke begins to torment Rey with his power. We return to the Resistance, where Poe wakes up on an escape ship with Leia. She tells Poe that Holdo's plan was to evacuate everyone to the old rebel base on the planet Crate, and that Holdo was going to use the main ship as a distraction so they could safely get to the planet. Back to the First Order, where it is revealed that DJ was a traitor to Rose and Finn, in which he made a deal with the First Order. DJ informed the First Order of the Resistance plan to evacuate to Crate. The First Order then opens fire on the escape pods. Back in Snoke's throne room, Snoke shows Rey the attack on the Resistance. She tries to attack Snoke with Ren's saber, but too little chance. Snoke then orders Kylo Ren to kill Rey, but instead he kills Snoke with Skywalker's lightsaber. With Skywalker's lightsaber returning back to Rey, both Rey and Kylo engage in battle with Snoke's guards. After the battle ends, Kylo asks Rey to join him. As they discuss her parents, she declines to join him. Kylo and Rey have a force pull over Skywalker's saber, resulting in the saber being broken in half. As the Resistance escape pods are being destroyed, Admiral Holdo then turns the cruiser ship towards Snoke's ship and hits it head-on using light speed, destroying the ship. Back on Snoke's ship, Rose and Finn try to escape. Finn and Phasma engage in a final battle, with Finn defeating Phasma, knocking her into the fires of the destroying ship. We now go to the surface of Crate, where the Resistance faces attack from the First Order. They attempt to reach out to contact any allies of the Resistance, but to no effort. As the Resistance nears breaching the entrance, Luke Skywalker appears. He has a touching moment with Leia and tells her he is not here to save her son. He then goes out to square off against Kylo Ren and the First Order. Ren orders everything to be fired at Luke, but when the smoke clears, Luke is still standing unharmed. Kylo Ren then goes to the surface to face off against Luke. During the fight, we discover that Luke is just buying the Resistance time to escape. We also learn that Luke is not even there at all, that he is using a force projection power. Luke then tells Kylo he will see him around and vanishes. Back in the base, the Resistance is trapped, but it is then freed by Rey as she uses her force abilities to remove the rocks from the Resistance to board the Falcon and escape. We go to Ahch-To, where Luke, drained of his energy from the force projection, looks out to the sun one last time and then vanishes, becoming one with the Force. We find our heroes on board the Falcon as Leia and Rey talk about Luke and rebuilding. We then go back to Canto Bight as children are telling the tale of Luke Skywalker. We then see a kid presumed to be Force sensitive looking out to the stars with a ring showing the rebellion symbol on his finger. The end. So, my friend, before I go into my movie,
let's just
tell me what you think about it. I want to know what you think about Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Well, you when you were doing your thing, so guys, whenever he's doing his summaries, I'll be looking up images. So that's what I'm doing, just so anybody's aware. Just looking up some images that I want to.
Well, find me an image of a trash can with this movie.
Okay, see, I told you guys this was going to be good. So when you were doing your story, and then you said Luke and the dust settles and he's unharmed, I did the whole. So okay, guys, I'm going to try and make this concise because I'm very curious, because he and I have not really talked about these. Before. Like, I just know that we're on opposite ends. So
guys, when we do this, we lightly chat up some things, but to really give the chemistry of this, to really bring to the show the dynamic, I have no idea what he's going to say. I have no idea what his actual real thoughts are on this movie. Again, we lightly chat up this stuff, but we're literally shooting this from the hip right here. This is our first time really engaging in our thoughts to this movie. So please, sir, continue. The floor is yours.
Yeah, man. So this movie, while not perfect by any means, was enjoyable to me to a certain degree. I have my gripes with it, believe me. I mean, one of them being the humor, which I love. Good humor in things. I do. Don't get me wrong, I do. But I don't need the Star Wars movies to feel like a comedy special. Like I don't need the forced humor. Like
Yeah.
there's one thing if it's natural. Like episode 7, they did the humor perfectly in my opinion. It
Yeah.
was more serious or thought out and whatever, and then you have the slight moments of humor. It seemed like they were just kind of shoving the humor
Yes.
up your bum with
Yep.
this
Yep.
one, and it seemed like they're so we watch these things called riff tracks, Mystery Science Theater. Those people, I don't know if you guys, James,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know you know, but I don't know if anybody else out there that really that. But so when I rewatched all 9 of the movies, I did them with the riff tracks just to kind of see what they'd say, the hilarious stuff. And I'm telling you, you guys got to watch them with riff tracks because they point out a lot of the things. And it's like, one of them, it's like, don't make me come in there and fan service you, lady. Like a lot, some things seemed like fan service, but it wasn't like good fan service, and I could have done without before I even say this about this actress who played Rose. We have no hate for her.
Yep.
I know that
Absolutely.
a lot of people really went ham on her and her social media for her.
And it was absolutely terrible. Terrible.
To the point where she deleted everything. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's okay. That's not what we do here.
It was absolutely
You can hate the character, but don't attack the person, So now that I've prefaced that, I could have done without the whole Rose and Finn dynamic. Like that just seemed kind of shoehorned in. It seemed like they were like, well, there's chemistry between Ray and Finn, but let's just throw this girl named Rose that nobody knows about all up in here and try and get her to be in love with Finn. And it rubbed me the wrong way solely because it should have been Ray and Finn, right? Like that should have been the thing. But even then, we don't really need like a huge romance in Star Wars. There was Han and Leia, but it was done tastefully. No. 2, the whole the whole like room scene with Rey, Kylo, and Snoke. As cool as that was visually, there's some editing mistakes in there, first of all, and it's very, very blatant. Like, holy crap. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's terrible. But why introduce this massive villain? Which, I mean, when we get to Rise of Skywalker, obviously we know what the deal is. But
we're going to talk about, so not to cut you off, but there's some stuff when we get to Rise of Skywalker in between that, and I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit here. There's just, continue. Go ahead. There's some stuff to unpack with that, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Guys, he's itching. He's itching. I'm telling you. It's why introduce this massive. First of all, in in The Force Awakens, we see Supreme Leader Snoke, and he is like a tower. I mean, he is like a tower. So you're like, okay, first of all, holy shit, I might not be.
I just took that. I like that visual, but for me, I just took it as that was a projection. I didn't think he was literally, but I like the visual that they gave with it. It was very imposing.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Like it wasn't that I thought that was him. A lot of people did, which I mean, that would have been cool if he was that big. But obviously, it was a projection, or what's it called? Not a force projection, but like technically like an actual hologram. Sorry, hologram.
Yep.
But I like that though, because it made you feel like, okay, this guy is bad news. Like, holy crap. How the hell we just gonna get rid of this man in 2 seconds in the second movie? I mean, it would have made more sense, even though we know what the deal is in the third one. It would have made more sense to have him go out in the third one, and then later on in that same movie, we're like, oh, that makes more sense now. It just, they built it up so much, and it just, anyway. And then oh God. And then we get to the salt, the planet with the salt, and we get this scene right here, which is, it's fine. It's fine. Like I like the visual.
Awesome. Visually, it's beautiful.
It's absolutely almost immaculate, and it just, I couldn't really understand the whole, I mean, I understood it. Like, I love this moment here with Luke and Leia. That was
beautiful.
Oh my
beautiful.
God, that.
Well, it's also too, you got to think about that scene right there too. You have to also put yourself where we were Star Wars fans in the context at that time of the loss of Carrie Fisher.
Exactly. And that's why I have a different love for this movie, even though her, doing the whole thing in space and somehow dying, but
Leia
not down.
Poppins.
Yeah, Leia. Thank you, Leia Poppins. Like I love the Force and everything, and I guess you can defend it by saying she was so in tune with the Force that she used the Force to coat herself and then somehow fly back to the ship. But I think they kind of went a little too far fetched with that one there, like that. I even in my theater, people were like, "What the hell?" Like, literally, people were like, "What the hell?" And just to piggyback on the scene with Snoke, like people were so shocked when that happened. Like he just got chopped in half, and his body just falls down. And then you think that Kylo and Rey are on the same team. You know, it's like a dynamic duo. It just seemed like there were so many different directions they wanted to go in, which is fine, but it didn't culminate well. You know, like you have that end scene, like you talked about, like Luke's getting fired on, and there's not even a scratch, and he just does the whole like pimp dust off your shoulder thing, which I thought was kind of funny. But I don't know, guys. It's just I like this movie overall, because I love Star Wars, but it's just there's so many elements within it that just kind of didn't really land for me, and because of that, it's like one of my. I don't know if this one or the next one is one of my least favorite movies. We'll find out when we get further in, but I know this man is itching. I know he is itching to tear this thing apart. So before I finish off my thoughts afterwards, I'm going to get to him because I can't wait to hear this. So James, why don't you enlighten us, sir, with your thoughts on episode 8?
This movie is like the equivalent of almost getting catfished to me. This movie is like the equivalent of, you know, like you meet this person, you're ready to go on this date, you're so excited, you know, you've had your little like conversation, your build-ups to things, and then you get on the date and you're like, this is not what I had in mind. And as it's going, you know that you're not going to do this again. And I am going to say this on the record right here. And I want this stamped and dated right here. I have this movie below the prequels. This movie to me is on my bottom. Like I have a tough time getting through this movie. I do. And it's sad because there was so much anticipation for this movie. And I have a good feel. I do have a feel-good moment with this movie. I went to, before this came out, I was at the 40th anniversary. They had Star Wars Celebration in Orlando. And that's absolutely amazing. If you've never had a chance or anybody's never had a chance to go to Star Wars Celebration, go do it. It was absolutely amazing. And one of the things they had as being a part of Star Wars Celebration was being there, we got to see the trailer first for episode 8. And the trailer looked really good. It was a hype moment to see that trailer. So that was my feel-good moment for this, was being there, experiencing to see this trailer with a bunch of Star Wars fans at Star Wars Celebration. So there was a lot of hype with this. And we had this whole thing with this movie. There was this thing going around with people, and it was called like hashtag like Ignite the Green, I think it was, because we wanted to see Luke Skywalker ignite that green lightsaber and go to work. We wanted to see Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master, all these things. And I remember, again, going to the theater that night, there's the hype. There's the excitement. There's all these things, okay? And then I can remember when the humor started up. I like the opening, by the way. Visually, like the opening is absolutely awesome. I remember watching this at the start and going, man, they're going to do it again. We're going to have another banger of a movie. Yeah. And then the humor kind of started up, and it was kind of, I remember sitting there with my friend, and just, we kind of have like those glances to each other. It's like kind of like, okay. And then I remember him sitting with me saying, he looked over me and he says, like, how do bombs drop in space? And I just like, Star Wars, just let this go. But then I remember, I can tell you, I remember the moment that took me out of this movie. Like I was probably about 70% done with this movie is when we get to the Leia Poppins scene. When that happened, I just sat there, and I just remember being so let down by that scene. And then when we get to seeing the way that Luke was portrayed in this movie, when he's milking and he's drinking the milk and he's doing all, like, I just remember again, I just started that decline down. And I just went, oh no. Oh no. And this movie, and here's the thing about this movie. This movie visually is beautiful. Visually, I will say this. Visually, this movie's the best looking Star Wars movie. Visually. It is absolutely beautiful. Visually. Great. It looks amazing. Act 2 looks absolutely amazing. But this movie suffers from a big thing. Cohesive storytelling. Now,
by far,
J.J. Abrams set this up. He teed it off for you. He gave you episode 8 on a silver platter. He said, here's what I've done. Pick the ball up and go this, and pick the ball up and run. And Rian Johnson did not do that. And actually, a little behind the thing on it, J.J. Abrams presented Rian Johnson with a layout of what he thought, because J.J. Abrams was still producing, and what he thought, this is where you should go with episode 8. And Rian Johnson, and I understand he's the director, he wants to have his own, I fully respect that.
Yeah, I get
but
that.
He basically took the paper, crumpled it up, and like how Luke took the lightsaber and just went,
oh my God, I hated that.
I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to just do my own thing. And the problem is this. Here's the problem. Kathleen Kennedy and the people at Disney that are overseeing this Lucasfilm didn't step in and look at this. If I would have been somebody at Lucasfilm and I would have looked at this script and I would have looked at everything in comparison to what we just got with The Force Awakens, I would have said, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. We're going from point A. We have a story. Point A to B to C. This does not take us anywhere after point A. And again, to why the Marvel movies in those first 3 phases have had the success, and even after that, I guess, if you want to say, and stuff. But the reason why is because Kevin Feige set an expectation with all the directors and people. And he said, this is where we're going to go with this. And he went to those directors and he said, you can do your thing, but we're going to have this. It needs to go here. It needs to have this, because this is what we're ultimately setting up. They didn't do that with this, and that's my problem. They just said, go do your own thing. Just go do your own thing, and we're not even going to care about the storytelling in this. And that was another moment that took me out of it. Luke Skywalker just tosses that lightsaber. That was to me was one of the most disrespectful things, because here is this lightsaber that is the most iconic lightsaber in the Star Wars galaxy. This is his father's. This is his father's lightsaber. This is the lightsaber of about one of the most powerful Jedi Knights ever, the chosen one, Anakin Skywalker. There is so much power and lore with that saber. And he just takes his father's lightsaber and just tosses it. It almost, to me, it felt like a Saturday Night Live skit. Like this, what it felt like. And it really felt to me in this that Mark Hamill, and if you ever listen to some of his interviews, he had a lot of problems with the portrayal of how Luke was in this movie. And he was against it.
I remember
and
that.
This movie, this almost just feels like Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker playing Mark Hamill. That's what it feels like. He's just being Mark Hamill. He's not really being Luke Skywalker. He is just being Mark Hamill. He might as well have done his Joker voice in this movie and laughed sometimes. It just was, the direction that they gave Luke was just really out there for me, because that to me doesn't feel like what Luke Skywalker would do.
Yeah.
That does not feel what Luke Skywalker would go about and do. I think the whole Admiral Holdo and all of that stuff, to me, I didn't care for that character at all. Actually, you know what? If I can tolerate Rose. I don't think the character of Rose was bad. I think the direction they put her on was bad. But I like Rose as a character, and I don't mind the side quest journey with her and Finn. I don't mind that, because you're introducing another character. I get it. It's fine. But the Admiral Holdo character and the whole thing behind that, where, we could have really just, and I understand they want to do things to create plot and story, but we really could have just simplified a whole bunch of stuff if she just would have said, if Poe goes up and says, hey, can you tell me what is our plan? What's the plan here? And she just has this whole negative thing with him, Flyboy and all this other stuff, instead of just saying, hey, listen, Poe, this is what I'm trying to do. And then it just was a whole entire, we had a lot of unnecessary things that didn't need to happen if she just would have told him the plan. And I think, and she had an unearned death. That death was visually, that thing is amazing. That is a really beautiful scene. Why couldn't that have been Admiral Akbar? Why not give that to a legacied character? Or I'll even challenge you another one. Let it be C-3PO. Let it be someone that we've earned on a journey with. And that was another thing. The disrespect they gave to Admiral Akbar. When Leia gets blasted out, that's where Admiral Akbar dies. He's just in the back, just gone. There's there's no straight mention. There's no anything, because what would have really worked out is when the stuff happens with Leia, we could have had, again, a much better story. Admiral Akbar is in charge. It goes to Admiral Akbar. And then we're really building from him from Return of the Jedi. And then it would have made, he's the one that would have taken the ship through light speed. That would have made like a much more compelling story. I do like some of the stuff with Rey or with Luke training Rey, though. So not everything on Ahch-To is a waste. But again, there's elements on there of the humor that doesn't work. I didn't care for the porgs. All that stuff with Chewie was a waste to me. Talking about Snoke, and here's my problem: is we set Snoke up in the first movie. He is the new big bad, okay? But he's also shrouded in mystery. We don't know where he comes from. We don't have anything behind him, or we don't know. We just know that he is Supreme Leader Snoke, and from this we see that he's powerful in the Force. Now, my one problem is I like that we have him now in a physical presence in this. Don't know how I feel about the Hugh Hefner cigar robe. Like, I don't know how I feel about that. But killing him off, I think was a huge mistake, because he should have been the big bad through this movie. That's what he should have been, or through this series. Or if we were going to follow this logic here and we were going to kill him off, you have Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, and then Kylo Ren becomes the big bad in the next one. That's we wasted this character, and that's my problem. Is we set this character, and there was so much speculation about who is he, where does he come from, all this stuff. There was a lot of excitement and anticipation around Snoke, and then just to do that, a lot of this movie for me just felt like Rian Johnson just said, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I don't really care about what the fans want. I don't care about what was established before. I'm not going to, no, this is just going to be for me. This is just my piece to do what I want to do with Star Wars. And you can't do that. When you have a property like Star Wars and you're trying to do this story building, you can't do that. And nobody stepped in and took accountability with it. And that's my problem with this movie. Like the Leia Poppins thing is one of the most ridiculous things. Let me give you a little rewrite on this. Okay, so she doesn't get blasted out of the ship. Okay, she gets blasted, and then if you really want to, like, she's there and like the ship's busted open, all that other stuff. If you really wanted to give her some display of force power, then as she's blasted back, she uses the force to create a field around to protect everyone from going further out and people blowing out into space. And then because of that show of power, and because she got the impact she got from the blast, then she goes into the unconscious state. You could have done that. That would have been so much better, because now we're really like, this is my problem with this, is that we go way out there with how we view the powers of the Force and everything, and that she can survive like that in the vacuum of space like that. It just is. It just that just really, and from an effect standpoint, it looked really cheesy to me. It looked really bad. I could have done without a lot of the stuff on Canto Bight. That whole area just kind of took it out for me, because again, as I've talked about this before, I don't really want my Star Wars feeling like Earth. I felt like I was in Las Vegas. That's where I felt like I was at. I felt like I was in Vegas. And it just kind of took me out of some things. Now, I do like the thought of war profiteering. I do like that thought.
That's Star Wars.
And I do like that, where you finally get a little thing in where it says, hey, there really is kind of behind the scenes. There's really not they don't really care about a good side and a bad side. They're just making money off of the stuff getting made. Like, I understand that. I like that. I like that thought process. So I did like that, but I could have done it without a lot of Canto Bight. I don't like the thought process of fuel. This is the first time in Star Wars we've had the talk of fuel. It just took me like I like when they were talking about, well, the ships are going to run out of fuel as they're hunting them, as they're shooting them down, and like that whole thing just dragged out to me. I thought that was just a pointless thing. Like we keep cutting back to they're just tailing them. They're just kind of like dog walking them through space. Like it just was this kind of like I don't know. It just took me out. And again, the humor, I just couldn't stand this humor in this movie. And we get to the end. I don't think Luke Skywalker should have died in this. I honestly, I really don't. I would have much rather let me paint you now. Here's the thing. Now here's what's funny. They gave us this in The Mandalorian, but this is what I would have wanted to see at the end. They're firing on the Resistance. No one's coming to save the Resistance. Nobody. They're firing on them. All of a sudden, someone says to Kylo, "Sir, fighter approaching. X-Wing class."
Oh, God.
He knows. And we see that classic Red 5. And it lands. We don't need to see him get out. Or if he gets out, we see like his feet land on the surface.
Just see a green lightsaber ignite.
And then we see the green lightsaber ignite. Like, I would have much rather he had been physically there. This is his redemption now, because now he's tuned back into the Force. Okay? So now we're getting him back. Still have the same scene with Leia, because that is an absolute beautiful. That is a beautiful and touching, and you can tell when you watch that scene that, and I'll be honest, in this scene right here, to me, this is Luke and Leia, but this is also the real life Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
This is their genuine love for each other. And to get the line, and again, and this hit us again because we did lose Carrie Fisher to when he says no one's ever, like, what did he say? Like, no one's ever really gone. This was beautiful. You could still give us this. But he should have had his green saber. That should have been in this. And having him take Kylo Ren on as a distraction. And then he's able to escape with the Resistance. Now, if you wanted to still, now here's the other side of it too. Let's say you wanted to still end off Luke Skywalker. Okay. You still could have done it here with him actually fighting Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And I guess if you wanted to kind of have the mirrors of Obi-Wan and Vader in episode 4, you could have set up, if you strike me down, I'll become more. You could have maybe something like that where he could have done he could have still done the see you around kid. And that would have, I think, doing it that way to have him if you want to end off Luke in a duel, in a battle, because he understands he's just stalling for the Resistance to escape, that to be honest, he's not going to make it out of this. I think that would have been really, really cool. I will say this, despite Snoke's death and how ridiculous that was, I do like that scene, that throne room battle, minus the edit problems. I know what you're talking about.
It's cool.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. And that's the thing about a lot of this. This had an opportunity to be something. There was a potential, a lot with this. Unfortunately, what we got, to me, in my opinion, was just absolutely sad. Like, this is the one Star Wars movie that I have a really tough time. I can't get through it. Like, I just have a really tough time watching, and it was such a sad disappointment for me. And I remember walking out of the theater going, like, I didn't know how to process it. I went and saw it another time in theater, but I didn't know how to process this movie. I really didn't. I was just in a wow, like, oof, okay. Because before this, and we're going to talk about this in our next episode, we had Rogue One, and Rogue One was absolutely awesome. So we had 2 bangers for Disney, and then we got this, and it was kind of like, oh, wait a minute. In my opinion, I just felt that there was tremendous opportunity with this movie. Visually, it's absolutely amazing. There was so much here that they could have done that really would have made this absolutely awesome. But this just missed the mark to me in so many ways, and it is not an enjoyable movie for me at all.
Damn. That guys, I gotta tell you, I knew that he was gonna go off, but geez, I didn't. Wow. Then man, I can't wait for this next one because who we doggy. Well, I don't have anything else to say about episode 8.
So are we ready to get into Star Wars episode 9?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Are you ready, James?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna get into this one. Well, yeah, I'll say my thoughts on this one. I'm not as harsh on this one as I am The Last Jedi.
Oh, okay.
I could actually watch this one,
Oh, okay.
despite all of its problems. And this has a lot of problems, and I am not a fan of this movie. But we'll get into that. So we have Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, released on December 20th, 2019, with a runtime of 2 hours and 13 minutes. This one had a budget of $489 million and a box office of $1.077 billion. Let's go ahead. We are going to get into the plot and tell the story of this movie. So, taking place roughly 1 year after The Last Jedi, we start off now seeing Supreme Leader Kylo Ren on the planet Mustafar, retrieving a Sith Wayfinder. This Wayfinder appears to have led him to Exegol, where we see him in search of the Emperor. As he encounters the Emperor, he learns that Snoke was a clone created by the Emperor. He finds the Emperor, in which Palpatine says he can give him a new empire. We see thousands of Imperial ships rise in the sky as Palpatine calls this the Final Order. In exchange for this power, he asks that Kylo will kill Rey and end the Jedi. He tells Kylo to be aware, for she is not who Kylo thinks she is. He asks Palpatine who she is, and Palpatine smiles as we cut to the Millennium Falcon in light speed. They encounter an ally that has a message that is downloaded into R2. With the First Order attacking them, they conduct a series of light speed skipping to evade the fighters. We then go to Rey levitating along with rocks. We see Leia standing there, holding Luke's repaired lightsaber. Rey goes about her training as we cut to Kylo Ren placing his hand over Darth Vader's helmet. While Rey is training, we cut back and forth with Rey and Kylo having flashbacks. As the Falcon returns back to the Resistance base, Poe reveals that the intel decoded reveals that Palpatine has returned. It is also revealed that he has been creating the largest fleet ever known, called the Final Order. It is revealed that he has been on Exegol, the hidden world of the Sith. Through reading the Jedi text, Rey learns that to find the Emperor, she needs to locate a Wayfinder. Rey and crew head to Pisana to pick up the trail where Luke left off in finding the Wayfinder. We go to the First Order, where Kylo Ren, accompanied by the Knights of Ren, has the meeting in which he states a spy is within the ranks of the First Order. We then arrive on Pisana, in which a Kylo Ren, while in another force of communication with Rey, finds out where she is. As First Order troops attack, they are assisted by a masked individual who is none other than General Lando Calrissian. Lando gives them the location of the ship where the Wayfinder may be as TIE fighters close in. Instead of finding the Wayfinder, they find a dagger that has the location of the Wayfinder scribed on it. However, it cannot be translated by C-3PO as it is written in the old language of the Sith. Chewbacca takes the dagger, and as they get ready to leave Pisana, Rey senses Kylo Ren near, as Chewie is captured by the Knights of Ren. As Rey ventures out, she sees Kylo approaching in his fighter. As Rey tries to stop the ship that is holding Chewie, she ends up blasting it with Force lightning, thus destroying the ship and killing Chewie. We go to the First Order, where they are towing in the Millennium Falcon to Kylo Ren's ship, as they have also taken a prisoner, the mighty Chewbacca, who is not on the ship that Rey destroyed. We go back to Poe and crew, where they find out that C-3PO has memorized the inscription on the dagger. However, the only way to retrieve it from C-3PO is to do a memory wipe. Poe says he knows someone who can do it, so they go to the planet Kijimi. On Kijimi, Poe encounters an old companion, Zori, who can take them to the droid smith, Babu Frick. With the Knights of Ren quick on their trail, they meet with Babu Frick, who does a complete memory wipe on 3PO in order for him to translate the Sith language on the dagger. Poe and crew leave Kijimi and fly up to the First Order ship in attempts to rescue Chewbacca after Rey senses he is alive. They find Chewie, and as they try to escape, they are captured by the First Order troopers. Rey finds the dagger and has a fight with Kylo Ren while in force communication, where he tells her what happened to her parents, and that it was Palpatine who gave the order to execute them. He learns that she is on his ship, and as we go to Poe, Finn, and Chewbacca getting ready to be executed, the troopers are then shot by General Hux, as he reveals he is the spy for the Resistance. Kylo arrives back on his ship as he tells Rey that he is the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine, and that is why Palpatine wants her dead. Rey then escapes on the Falcon as the Legion General Pride executes General Hux, knowing he was the spy that helped them escape. Rey and crew arrive on Kefbur, the ocean moon planet of Endor, where they locate the wreckage of the Death Star from the last battle in Return of the Jedi. Rey uses the dagger to locate the Wayfinder within the Death Star. Rey heads to the wreckage where she finds the Wayfinder only to confront Kylo Ren. They engage in a lightsaber duel. Leia, sensing all of this, uses the Force to reach out to her son, causing him to stop, allowing Rey to stab Kylo Ren in the fight. We then see Leia's hand drop as she passes on. General Leia has died. Rey then uses her abilities to heal Kylo Ren's wound and leaves in Kylo's fighter. We see Kylo standing as he hears the voice of his father say, "Hey, kid." Kylo turns around to see Han Solo standing there. Kylo tells Han that his son is dead, but Han says that it is Kylo that is dead, that his son Ben lives. Kylo then calls Han dad and throws his lightsaber into the ocean as we cut to General Pride talking to the Emperor as he is ordered to come to Exegol. He also orders General Pride to destroy a place they know in which a Star Destroyer with a planet-destroying cannon opens fire and destroys Kijimi. We go back to Ahch-To, where Rey has burned Kylo's fighter. He then pulls out Skywalker's lightsaber and throws it into the fire. As she does this, a hand comes through the flames and catches it. This is none other than Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. Now a Force ghost, Luke tells Rey that she must face her fears and confront Palpatine, echoing Obi-Wan telling Luke he must face Vader in Return of the Jedi. Luke then presents Rey with Leia's lightsaber while sharing a flashback story of him and Leia training. We then cut to Luke raising his old X-Wing from the waters for Rey to use to go to Exegol. Again, a callback to when Yoda raised Luke's X-Wing on Dagobah in Empire Strikes Back. Back on the Resistance base, R2-D2 restores C-3PO's memory as Poe, now General Poe, with Leia gone, gathers the Resistance to prepare to head to Exegol for the final battle. We go to Rey now on Exegol as she lands to confront her grandfather, Emperor Palpatine. Poe and the Resistance arrive on Exegol as the battle commences. Rey makes her way to Palpatine where her final confrontation begins. Palpatine tells her to claim her birthright and take the throne. He tells her she must kill him and then he will become one with her. He refuses as Palpatine shows her the battle above with her friends in the final order. He, with his former crew, he then squares off with his former crew. Oh, wait a minute, I think I'm on. He tells her he must kill him, and she refuses as Palpatine shows her the battle above for her friends as a final order. He then tells her that if she refuses to kill her, she refuses to become one with him, her friends will die. We then see Ben Solo running to the aid of Rey as he is blasting his way through. He then squares off with his former crew, the Knights of Ren, as Palpatine begins the ritual with Rey. As Rey goes to deliver the striking blow to Palpatine, she again refuses and through her Force abilities transfers the Skywalker lightsaber to Ben as he defeats the Knights of Ren. Rey, now using Leia's lightsaber, dispatches of Palpatine's guards as she then joins with Ben against Palpatine. Palpatine then uses his powers to drain the life energy from both Rey and Ben, thus restoring him. We go back to the battle above as the Resistance is outmatched. As Poe faces defeat, he hears Lando as suddenly thousands of ships appear to aid Poe and the Resistance. Palpatine then tosses Ben down the rock pit and then, in an incredible display of power, uses his Force lightning to take out the Resistance. As this is happening, Rey focuses and tunes herself into the Force as she hears the voices of Jedi past, such as Obi-Wan, Anakin, Mace Windu, Qui-Gon Jinn, Luke, and numerous other Jedi. Palpatine throws Force lightning at Rey as she blocks it with her lightsaber. As Palpatine says he is all of the Sith, Rey counters saying she is all of the Jedi, and then ignites the lightsaber of Anakin Skywalker, thus returning the lightning back to Palpatine, destroying him and the Final Order. Rey, after using all of her energy to defeat Palpatine, collapses and is no more. Ben, climbing back up from the rock pit, gets to Rey and revives her with his energy, thus sacrificing himself in the process. We then go to our heroes and the fleet leaving Exegol as we see the Final Order ships destroyed on Bespin, the forest moon of Endor, and Jakku. We return to the Resistance base where our heroes reunite in celebration as we see Maz Kanata give Chewie his medal from A New Hope. We then see the Millennium Falcon flying over a Jawa sand cruiser as Rey is on Tatooine back at the old Lars homestead. She then buries Luke and Leia's lightsaber in the sand outside of the homestead as we see her ignite her own yellow-bladed saber. An old lady approaches her and asks her what her name is. Rey, looking off, sees Luke and Leia and says her name is Rey Skywalker. Rey then stands off looking at the dual suns with BB-8. The end.
Yeah. Okay.
Go
all right.
ahead. Go ahead. I'm not as. I will say this. I am not. I'm not as harsh on this one as I am The Last Jedi. But
That's
I do
crazy.
want to know what you think about this.
That's so crazy because we're reverse. So like I don't hate this one the most, but this one kind of makes me a little bit more upset than The Last Jedi, just because there's just there's just so much. Okay. Oh my god. All right. Where to even where to even begin? So we have the whole C3P. First of all, I love Babu Freak. He is hilarious, and I see
Absolutely.
that kind of humor.
Absolutely.
That's fine. He that's great. I love that. And then seeing him pop back in again, and he's like, hey, on the ship, it's great.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
But man, like the humor in this one too, sometimes was just kind of like, do we need that? No. 2, C3PO. I love him. I love C3PO, a great legacy character. But you eliminated all aspects of stakes in the movie. Like so he's supposed to be reset, doesn't remember anybody, doesn't know anybody. And then not even what, 2 scenes later, a scene later, it's just like nothing ever happened. It's like, okay, hold on, man. Like we got rid of Luke far too early last episode. Why couldn't we have done that? Just like a little bit more continuity, even though I wouldn't have liked that they got rid of C3PO like that. But like, you know what I mean? Just for like continuity and like just cohesiveness. There we go. Cohesiveness. Yeah. You just got rid of a legacy character, Luke of all things, and you kind of did his character really dirty, in my opinion, because what the hell was he even doing milking? Okay, anyway. Yeah. But the whole stakes behind C3PO, and then with Chewbacca, we could have went a little bit longer with not knowing whether he was on there or not, because I'm not going to lie, in the theater, we all believed it. I believed it straight up. I will say it full, like I believed it. Even rewatching it, I was like, oh my God. And then, but obviously he wasn't dead.
Right.
But that would have been such a great catalyst for like the final act. You know what I mean? And then like that final scene where everybody shows up, which, oh my God, I was just talking to another Star Wars fan the other day about this. Oh my God, man. Woo. Okay. Sorry. See, this must be how you feel about the second one, because okay. So we could have kind of let that simmer a little bit, because OG fans of Star Wars who have seen Chewbacca in the OG series, and then obviously, now we see him in the sequel trilogy, we would have been like, oh my God, they really did it. They really killed off Chewbacca.
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
And I feel like, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that would have been so much more gripping for the rest of the movie, because like, yeah, we get to this planet and okay, we're getting rid of C3PO's memory. Oh my God. So now we lost Chewie. C3PO's memory is going to be gone. I don't even know how to feel.
Right.
I feel like for fans, that would have been just such a dagger in a good way, because we still don't really know much about Rey. We just know that her parents were taken, or, whatever. And I just feel like that was a little bit of wasted potential too. I feel like in this movie, they tried to give you some jump scares, if you will, but at the same time, they didn't want to lose you. So they were like, but wait, here we go. You're fine though. It's like, no. The whole idea behind Star Wars is the fact of loss, is the fact of hunger, that wanting to protect somebody, but like, oh crap, I couldn't, and growing from that, right? So for me, it's not that don't get me wrong, guys. I didn't want to see Chewie die, nor did I want C3PO to die. It's just I wanted it to be prolonged a little bit, because I mean, there was, between the times Chewbacca got blown up and we get to Exegol, I mean, what? That's like an hour, right? Like an hour of the movie.
Around there, yeah.
So an hour of the movie. Imagine that whole hour. You're like, oh, Chewbacca's dead. Who cares what's happening? Chewbacca's dead. And then to just see him come in with Lando, Billy D, and he's just there, and you hear him roar. Oh my God, bro. I'm getting chills thinking about that, because it would have been that much more impactful for me.
Yes.
And I'm kind of jumping around here, but we got
you're fine.
We got this scene, right?
I just want to say, yes, I want to say really quick, I do apologize for this. My phone battery is at 2%.
Oh yeah, you're good, man.
This thing has been going like it has been draining like crazy. So if we can we put a pause in this to give me some time to let this thing charge so we can get to the conclusion of this? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Okay,
That,
guys, we are back. Sorry about that. Things happened. My phone died, but I got it charged back up, and we are ready to pick things back up. So, my good friend Robbie, sir, if you would like to go ahead and continue your thoughts, let's get back into this.
For sure, guys. Yeah, things happen. I was just telling him that, live streams, I mean, people cut out and completely just disappear, and you have to just kind of roll with the punches as things go. So no worries, but we're going to jump right back into this so we can get to his thoughts, and then we will be doing our closing statements and be thanking you guys for joining us. So before I get back into it, thanks again for those who are watching, and for those who haven't seen the movies yet for some odd reason, and hopefully this drives you to go see it or whatever the case is. So
yeah, I should have said, you know what I should have said at the beginning before I read the stories and the plots? I should have said, for those that haven't seen any of these movies, these do contain spoilers.
It's in the title. I always title them with spoilers. So,
Gotcha.
if you're watching it, then obviously you knew there were spoilers. All right, guys. So we're going to hop right back into this. I think, I believe I was definitely ranting a little bit. And, and we got to this scene, right? And I was going all over the place, and I still probably will for a little bit, but I'm going to end my thoughts here in a minute. But we get to this scene, and it's a good battle sequence. I like the incorporation of the scenery, right? With like the water sloshing and them like having to jump over things. It was cool. The acrobatic
and then like them going in between the water and through the water. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
That was cool. Like, in this new trilogy, we haven't really seen a lot of acrobatic lightsaber fighting like in the prequel era. Granted, that's when the Jedis and Sith were in the prime or whatever, but that's also in the Old Republic and the New Republic, and like Knights of the Old Republic. There's Jedis that are in their prime. It's just different time periods. So technically, these two would be almost in their prime. Not really yet, because she hasn't really truly embodied herself yet. So this scene wasn't bad. It's just the whole having Finn constantly yell Rey and chasing after her. It's just so redundant, and it's just so overdone. And I get it. Like John Boyega said, he wouldn't return to Star Wars, and I don't blame him. I mean, like, he kind of got misled a little bit. We got misled. I thought he was going to be a stormtrooper turncoat turned into a Jedi, like, because he was so force sensitive and there was good in him, that he said, no, I don't want to be a stormtrooper, and then just became a Jedi. That would have been sick. We were robbed of that. However, be that as it may, just having him yell Raid nonstop, like, we could have done without that. I mean, that's been in all of the movies. At least in the first one, it was warranted, right? Like in The Force Awakens, it was warranted back on Jakku when they're running and they just, right, you go run. Like, it makes sense. He just ran away from the First Order. Now, come on. We're 3 movies in. That's the technically end of this trilogy. I feel like his character was wasted. I just feel like this scene was great in and of itself, and there's a lot of great elements to, the sequel trilogy. But then, my good friends, we get to this, and okay, I mean, I can buy the fact that when Darth Vader threw him down the reactor and he somehow survived, that's just like Maul in the Clone Wars. You find him and he has like these weird mechanical horns. He's got this mechanical half, and you're like, what the fuck? But it works once the storytelling comes in, and you're like, oh, that's how he survived. Oh, shit. I mean, with this, okay, I don't know what I'm more upset about, is whether it's this or that it's Rey is his granddaughter, or it's just all over the place. And the whole idea that like he's so powerful yet he can't leave this thing. It's like, okay, if he's that powerful, even as a clone, you should be able to leave that thing. No problem. I'm sorry. I don't care what you tell me. You should be able to leave that thing. Like, look at Darth Plagueis. Look at Darth Nihilus. Like, come on. Like, that shit's crazy. And then I'll end off with this. Now I get it. A lot of people rallied behind Leia's cause. I get it. the Republic has saved so many people and been there for so many different systems. But where in the Sam Hill did we get all of these ships coming from? Like, who are all these people? How are there this many people in ships, right?
This was the really quick. I was thinking about this when I watched it again. This was the Sam on your left end games moment.
Oh yeah. That's actually what I was. Yeah, this is the Sam on your left like moment, right?
Yeah, and it looks awesome. I'll be honest, like it looked really awesome.
Visually,
Yeah.
it is phenomenal. Really, I mean, I got excited when I watched it in the theater, and I got excited rewatching it, even though I had those thoughts of like, well, who are these people? Where did they all come from? Anyway, this is cool. You know, that's one of those where Star Wars can kind of get away with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
because you can somehow, some way, in some shape or fashion, find a way to make it work. Like you can. Yep. And the way how I said it when I was watching it with Jen, I was like, well, you got to think about it like this, right? Like it's all the people that the Republic saved or Leia had a hand in as well. And her name is tied to the Skywalker name and her name is tied to the rebellion. So it could be like a farmer and his 3 other friends that were like down the road. And then they told their friends and there was like 8 of them. And you know what I mean? You can kind of, but overall, it was just like, where did everybody come from? They had so much people that it was almost equal to how many ships that they had, starships that they had on Exegol. It was, I don't know. It just seemed a bit jarring because, again, storytelling wise, who are they? Where'd they come from? Like,
right. And well, for me, I'll tell you, for me, you're deep diving this for you. For me, I didn't put that much thought into it because my thought was, well, and if we were going to question stuff, well, how we never really got explained how all these thousands of Sith Star Destroyers and Imperial Star Destroyers just came out of the blue. So you know what? If we're not
getting there, you're right there.
Well, all right, but my thing is like, if we're not going to explain that, I don't need this explained. We're just here. We're just here.
But that's the thing, right? Is like that's where I was going. You said exactly what I was going to say. It's like, where did all these Star Destroyers come from? Like where? So it's like, if there's no explanations on either side, then I guess we're here, you know. And that's why I say I like it and I still get excited because they just came out of nowhere, just like those Star Destroyers. I saw that come out of
I guess the way I look at it, if this makes sense, is that I look at it as the galaxy is large, right? And it could stand to reason, because sometimes when we think of Star Wars, and this is going to go into when I share my thoughts, we narrow the galaxy down, and we don't sit back and think the scale of how large the Star Wars universe and how large in these movies the galaxy really is. So I looked at it as it's a really large galaxy, so you could possibly have all these ships. My one problem is I guess depending on, again, though, I guess depends on how you want to take the context to things. It depends on how you want to go behind the backstory, because this movie takes place in the timeline. It's about a year after The Last Jedi. So in The Last Jedi, they put the call out for all the help. They put the call out for help. So you could, even though Lando, it kind of is said in this movie, and they're going through that, another call was put out. They tried to write, but you could say, well, hey, over a year's time, I guess, if you want to say, you could possibly pose it to say, okay, well, all these ships gathered up throughout the galaxy over the course of time. But my other question, but if we're not going to say that, my question really would be about how do they get all this together that fast? How did all these guys get together? But we leave a lot of things out. We leave a lot of things out in these movies that we don't get explained. And sometimes I try to take it as it's just the galaxy's really large. Like, for example, General Pride in this movie, he says to the Emperor, as I served you before. Well, we never seen him in the original trilogy. They set him up as this, but we've never, at least from my knowledge, I don't remember ever being a General Pride in the original trilogy, but I marked it off. But my logic to it was, well, hey, listen, the Empire was all over the galaxy. Just because they were not associated with the battles that we seen doesn't mean they weren't there.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's kind of how I looked at these things, is like, okay, we're getting a gathering of different ships and people, probably from all over the galaxy, that were fighting different wars, whatever the case may be, whatever it is. But my mind also is the thing of, and again, I didn't think about it when I watched this movie, but it's like, how did they get together that fast? How did they get everybody? But it's a Star Wars world, and it's just kind of one of those things where you have to, I guess, in some cases, you have to kind of suspend disbelief and just say, "Hey, we're here.
Yeah,
let's go with it." But please continue.
Oh no, I'm pretty much done. That's basically how anime is too. It's just like, oh, how did that happen? Where'd that come from? I mean, it's cool as hell, and it kind of, if you look at it from this angle and that angle and that angle, it makes sense a little bit. But how did they do all that like that? It's the same thing. So yeah, my final thoughts are, overall, I enjoyed the movie. The movie was entertaining. It's just, man, this one was just kind of like my least favorite, and it, man, I just leave some more questions, and I understand taking the name Rey Skywalker. I don't want to be Rey.
I have a big problem with that one.
I have a big problem with that. Yeah, I do too. And I mean, I get it, right? It's like, because they mentored you and they were there for you, and I get that, but like, I feel like that should be more. God, I don't want this.
Well, let me retract. I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with her being Skywalker. My problem is the lead up to it.
That's what I mean. It doesn't really feel that earned, which, like, means she, in essence, does kind of deserve it, but like, it doesn't feel earned in the movie to me. And then I'll leave my thoughts there.
So for me with this movie, again, the lead up to this movie was hype. And when I seen this trailer, it kind of was this movie's very interesting, okay? Because this movie could have gone, we could have had a completely different movie. So I don't know. And for those out there, this movie was originally supposed to be directed by Colin Trevorrow. And he was actually signed on at the helm to do episode 9. And if you go look it up on YouTube, you can type this in, you can look it up. His was going to be called Star Wars Episode 9, Duel of the Fates. And it had a very different story from what we got. Very interesting. It just takes some time. I don't want to deep dive too much into it here, but take some time, look it up, check it out. You can watch YouTube videos on it. It's very interesting. The path had we gotten the Colin Trevorrow version, would have been really interesting. And the reason why we didn't get the Colin Trevorrow version is because of what The Last Jedi did. So here's what happened. Again, this is where I was talking about this movie. This movie is a product of not following cohesive storytelling, because this movie is actually a retcon. It's actually a soft reboot to The Force Awakens, because if you really pay attention to this movie in a lot of ways, it disregards and changes a lot of stuff that happened. Well, I shouldn't say it that way, but it's a different tone, and they really take some jabs at The Last Jedi. The most notable scene, there's actually 2 things in here that are really notable that take shots at The Last Jedi, and that is when they're together on the Resistance base and they're talking about doing the light speed attack again. They call it the Holdo maneuver in this, and Poe quickly disregards it, and he says that's 1 in a million. And he basically says, "No, we're not doing that again." And then the biggest scene that really throws the FU to The Last Jedi is when Rey throws the lightsaber and Luke catches it, and he's like, this weapon. He's like really putting prominence on this weapon, the same thing that he threw away.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they took their shots at Last Jedi, and the reason why that J.J. Abrams came back to take the helm of The Last Jedi is because they wanted some familiarity closing, because they were not confident. At least my opinion to this, they were not confident in Colin Trevorrow delivering because of what Rian Johnson did, and so.
That's fair, though.
They looked at it and said, you know what? We need to put JJ back on this to close this because of what he did with The Force Awakens. Because if you were to watch these movies and you could literally watch The Force Awakens and then watch Rise of Skywalker, put those 2 together, take out Last Jedi, you're not missing much. Because if you think about it that way, those 2 flow together. Okay, because JJ basically came back in and said, "No, I got to fix what happened in The Last Jedi." So we're gonna but this movie is a product of what happened with Last Jedi because they try to fix things in here and it's very forced. Like for example, when you mentioned the story with Finn, well, had we perhaps gotten a more cohesive Last Jedi, we may have gotten a stronger representation for Finn.
Yep,
we may have, because I mean, in this movie, he tries to basically it's basically implied in this movie that he is force sensitive. Well, had we gotten a better delivery, a better take of Last Jedi, we're probably getting a little more of that with Finn. Now, here's the thing about it, and I will say this kind of to go against a little bit of what your thoughts were with Finn. I didn't need Finn to be a Jedi. I didn't need that.
No, it would have been nice.
Having him be force sensitive, like having him be force sensitive, and you can kind of hint to those things. I like that. I like that direction. But I didn't need him to be like full blown Jedi. I like the handling of what they did with Finn. I just think if we gotten a different version of the Last Jedi, it could have get a better payoff for Finn. I don't like, and this goes back to the thing. I remember when I seen this trailer, and I'll be honest, like Star Wars fans, the trailer was a little emotional because you're getting, like when C-3PO has that line in the trailer, and it's in the movie when he says, "Taking one last look at friends." They're setting up that this is it.
Yeah.
And the way that they played the music, the slow music with it, they were really building this up as this. I mean, it is that this was the end, I mean, basically of the Skywalker run. Like this is the end of the series as we know it. And then when they go on to move on, we're gonna have a different story. And I remember you hear the Emperor's cackle at the end of the trailer, and I was kind of a mixed bag. Of course, like. You're excited for one part of it because Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine is absolutely amazing. He is the highlight of the prequels, and he is such an accomplished actor. He's fun to watch on the screen. And then I mean, and on top of it too, I mean, in some senses, who wouldn't be happy to see Papa Palpatine back on the screen again? There was some, but it was interesting. But it was also a letdown in some sense too, because it's like, what we could have gotten. Because to be honest about this, I didn't need Palpatine to return.
Yeah.
Didn't need it. Again, as I talked about with The Last Jedi, could have gone two ways with this. Could have kept Snoke all the way to the end and had him have a face-off. If Luke was still there, he faces off with Luke as Rey, all that. Or we get to this one, which I thought would have been another good route to go, where Kylo Ren is now the main bad. He is Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, and they do that. He's Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. But that was my other problem with this movie, is I didn't want him redeemed. I didn't like, I was completely, my things I couldn't stand the most in this movie was the ending of him and Rey kissing and the whole, him coming back to being Ben Solo. We followed the same arc as Anakin. It was the same play through, and I just wanted it. Like I thought it would have been a really cool story, okay, if we had finally a Skywalker that didn't get redeemed.
Yeah,
that would have been really good. And I think where we leave him off at The Last Jedi, it would have been interesting. A year's gone by, he's now Supreme Leader. This would have been really good to play off of, and then have Rey defeat him. And that's the end of it. That would have been, because then you could have also played the thing, and some of the story could have been that he was able to do what Darth Vader couldn't do, and that was actually have his own empire, be a supreme leader. That he because he idolized his grandfather, so that he was able to go above what his grandfather was able to do. I think that would have been a really good, compelling story in this movie. But between this and The Last Jedi, again, I like the pacing of this movie. I do like some of the choices made, and they had a really hard choice. And here's one thing, because a lot of criticism comes from what they did with Leia. I'm not mad about anything with Leia in this movie because that was a hard task because Carrie Fisher is gone. There was no right way they were ever going to stick the landing with Carrie Fisher in this movie because they had to use. So when they did this, they had to use old footage of her from The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So that's really hard to do. There was no way they were going to win with this. It was either do we use like that at that time that technology was still kind of new? Do we use that CG style footage? Like, the face, like how they were doing all that stuff with like Tarkin and Rogue One and all those things that we'll talk about when we get to those episodes. And then you could possibly upset fans. Do we recast Carrie Fisher? For example, do we bring in someone like a Meryl Streep or like another actor of that tier? Then you got to upset fans because Carrie Fisher is Princess Leia. You're upsetting people if you do that. Do you, one of the options was, do you kill her off screen? That's another hard thing to do because that can be a disrespect to the character. They had a big task, and I don't know if the route. I think we would have gotten a different Leia, a different story arc with Leia had Carrie Fisher still been alive to actually film and do. But I'm not mad with the choice that they made. Yeah, because I mean, let's be honest here for a moment. When Chewie finds out, that hit us all. Yeah, I mean, Chewie was us. I mean, that was just the But to what you also talked about too. We had a lot of things in this movie that didn't get any payoffs. I think that the way that they handled Chewie, it's like, here we are 1 minute thinking, oh, Chewie's gone. And then literally like 2 scenes later, oh, there he is. We had no chance to have a slow burn, to do nothing. It's just, there he is. He's back. We're all, and whereas I think that if we were going to go that route, that should have been something held off to the end.
Agreed.
I think that maybe how cool would it have been when the Falcon shows up, Chewie's with Lando?
Yeah, that's what I'm literally.
Yeah, something like that. I think we could have done some things with that. Or Chewie doesn't come back. Maybe there's stakes in this movie. Not every. I don't subscribe sometimes, and I don't like the feeling that when you have a trilogy setting, that the last movie has to end everything on the note that it needs to end. Like, we got to tie up all the loose ends and do all this. Why, why couldn't Chewie just that's it? I wouldn't have been mad about that either. One of my problems with this movie is making Rey a Palpatine. Again, we shrink the Star Wars universe. That you either, in this world, you either need to be a Kenobi, a Skywalker, a Palpatine. Like, we make this world so small. Yeah. I think this would have been a good opportunity that Rey should have been from nobody. Literally, as it was in The Last Jedi. I will say as one thing. She came from nobody. She had no lineage tie into anybody. She was special. I think had they done that, it would have made her more special. And then we wouldn't have followed the thing of, well, in order to be special or in order to be powerful or special in this universe, you either got to have the last name Skywalker, Palpatine, Kenobi, whatever it is. She just just comes from nothing. And then that way, when we get to the end of the movie, she still doesn't have any attached. She doesn't know her place. She doesn't have anything to hold on to. That would have made that scene a million times more better when she takes the name Skywalker.
Or maybe she doesn't even take the name Skywalker.
Well, yeah, perhaps. But I like that she did. I think the build up to it should have been a lot better if she just would have come from nothing. She wouldn't have been related to anybody. And then because of the pride she has from Luke and Leia and the teachings from them, she becomes like she's just Skywalker. I think that would have been a really cool take on it. As much as I like Ian McDiarmid and he is Palpatine, I don't know if I liked a lot of what he did in this, especially towards the end. Yeah, I just think a lot of this stuff was way over the top, and I get it. It's Star Wars, suspend disbelief. I get all this stuff, but I just think we got way over the top with a lot of the stuff here. and I was kind of taken out of a lot of it. But overall, with this movie, is it good? No, but it's a product of the mistakes they made with not putting together a cohesive trilogy. This is a pure example of trying to right the ship, but perhaps maybe not, but doing it the best way they could, but not necessarily the right way. Again, if we would have put together a more cohesive Last Jedi, this I believe this movie would have delivered us a good, solid conclusion. I mean, it gave us a conclusion. It gave us a conclusion for sure. I just think we're having a more compelling movie if The Last Jedi would have followed that. Yes, would have followed that storytelling line. And again, as I say, you didn't need Palpatine to come back, but it might have been really cool if within the storytelling, whether it had been Snoke or it had, let's just say it would have been Kylo Ren, and Snoke followed. He dies in the second one. It might have been really cool to have him find old archives, and he's getting these teachings, or he's getting these things, or he learns of the final order through these wayfinders, through these things. There's old hologram images of the Emperor, and that's kind of guiding him to find the final order. That might have been a really cool way to bring Palpatine in it. And my other problem with this is they called them wayfinders. They're holocrons.
Yeah, they're holocrons. Yeah.
That bothers me. That was one of my bothering things with this movie too. That they're not wayfinders, they're holocrons. So, but overall, I can watch this movie. It's okay for me to watch, because I'm also taking into context that they did what they did to try to course correct from The Last Jedi. So this movie to me again is an example of, it's a product of not following through on cohesive storytelling. But overall, I think the one thing too that my biggest disappointment in this series, and we're gonna kind of chat this more in our final thoughts, is you didn't get the big three together in one scene. So those are my thoughts on Rise of Skywalker. Do you have anything else to add, sir?
No, because if I do, we'll be here another 45 minutes. Like, no, I'll agree about the big three, all together. And that's the thing. Oh my God. Yeah. Sorry. Just this final thing.
Go ahead, please.
In The Force Awakens, bam, they got rid of Han Solo.
Yep.
Just like that. Just like that. And it hit so hard. I was in the theater and I was like, there's no way they just did this.
But see, to me, but here's my thing. Here's my thing with that though. That was an earned death. If that makes sense to what I'm saying. Like, that was one that I was like, I was into that. I'm like, oh, this has to happen. Like, this made sense. Now, here's the thing though. Now, I will tell you this. I was one of the people. I didn't think Han was dead. I remember. I did. Because I thought, oh, he's going to come back in some way. Somebody, like, I'm thinking in my head, like, kind of like the Luke on Bespin in Empire Strikes Back, that he fell through something. He's still there. Somebody found him. They healed him. He's going to come back in some way. He's going to be there in some way. Maybe not like full Han Solo, but there's going to be some scene where Poe and them, or Rey, they find him like on a medical, like a back to tank or some kind of medical bed thing. I thought he was going, I really did. I thought he was going to come back. But I also think on the other side, I think it was also a good decision to not have him come back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying with the
minus what they did in Rise of Skywalker. Like, I understood that scene. Like, that's Ben seeing his dad. Han's not really there, but that's him. Like, that's in his memory. That's in his thing. I got all that. But I think it was a very good decision to just not let Han return.
No, I agree with you. And that's what's leading into this is that's one thing that made The Force Awakens great. And not that he died, but like the nature behind it. It needed to happen. And of course it happened by his own son, his own son. Like, his son is so far gone that he just killed his dad like that.
And and to that point of what you just said, that is why I didn't want to see Kylo Ren redeemed.
Yes, thank you. It's like
I think that
exactly what I'm. That's
we
crazy.
had. I think we would have had much better storytelling. We really could have turned that dial up, because if you think about it, and I understand what George Lucas said. You know, when he talked about this, about the prequels connecting to the original trilogy, he's like, you know, it's kind of like poetry; it rhymes and this and that. And I understand wanting to kind of have them same kind of beats in the sequel trilogy as well. But I really think we could have subverted all expectations. We could have just really went out there if we would not have redeemed him. Let him go completely bad. Let him just he is so off the hinges that I think that with killing Han Solo, and if you're going to follow the same arc of him killing Snoke, like he is just taking all these things and it's establishing him. And I just think I think it was lazy to have him just be redeemed
like that so easily.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like he's just redeemed like that, and then it's like we're just like, oh, okay, here we are. Now he's been Solo again, and doing. I didn't like that. I could have, or you know, I mean, or if we were gonna do something like if there was gonna be some kind of little small thing of a redemption, I don't know, whatever you want to do, like he could have. Like, I didn't need it to be that quick. Could have been a decision at the end, or maybe almost kind of like, or it could have been something where maybe not like a full redemption, but like, for example, with Hux, and which, by the way, I do want to say this real quick. I didn't like Hux being the spy.
It didn't
lazy.
Really
that was lazy to me. That was lazy to me.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense. Like,
and Hux, and really quick, and we're talking about a character's arc in a series. His was a big letdown.
Yeah.
We see him in The Force Awakens. He's intimidating. When he's giving that speech on Starkiller Base, and they zoom in really good on his eyes, and you can see this, like,
that was a good scene.
Exactly. He is an intimidating person in the First Order. We get to Last Jedi, and he's a clown. He's a clown. He's getting, like, when they have that spot where he gets dragged on the floor from Snoke, and they're making the jokes with him, they just really like they just kind of, like I say in wrestling terms, he just became a jobber. They just started jobbing him out.
Yeah.
And then by the time we get to The Rise of Skywalker, again, he is really downplayed, and to make him the spy, I think, was just lazy. And then to finish him off that quickly the way they did, to me, just continued to be lazy. I really thought it would have been good to have. I liked the imbalance with him and Kylo Ren. I really liked that back and forth, and that would have been really good to continue that with him as the main general in the First Order with Supreme Leader Snoke, and you're still getting that. Like, he's almost like it would have been cool if you think about it. I'm sorry, Kylo Ren, when he gets right, like when he's the Supreme Leader, Hux could have been the Starscream to Kylo Ren's Megatron.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah, that would have been sick.
Yeah, exactly. And we just make him it's like really quick. It's like, oh, I'm the spy, and then he gets shot, just like that
instantly. It's like, why did we even do that then? Why wouldn't they just get rid of him off screen then? At that point, like, it just didn't make any sense to me.
Yes. So that's just some of my, like, again, now when I watched The Rise of Skywalker, I'm not mad at this movie. I didn't walk out when I saw it. I went and seen it a couple times in theaters. I didn't walk out of the movie being upset. I walked out of the movie disappointed, and not and disappointed in what we could have gotten. That's the problem with this movie, is the disappointment of what we could have gotten. And so that's just where I'm at with this movie. So before we give our final thoughts on the trilogy, do you have anything else for The Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, I just really wish that they would have followed through at the end and not made Kylo turn back into Ben. And there was such wasted potential. And then this is my final, because again, like I said, we could keep going. But I just wish that they would have fully committed, especially after killing his own father. Like, you kill your own parent, dude. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There might be some redemption for you, but maybe in the afterlife, or maybe on your deathbed. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they should have made him full on, like the guy behind me, Darth Revan. They should have just made him like that at the end, and just really, like, what's her name, Ray, just looking at him like, well, then you really are lost. Like, refer to the prequels. Well, you really are lost. And then he's like, what? Maybe like, don't underestimate my power. Something.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And then that's it. Like maybe they show them battling, and then that's it. You don't even really see who ends who, and then you find Rey at the end, and she's like battered and bruised, and whatever. It's like, what happened to Kylo? And it's like, he's really lost. That's it. That's all we did. And that would have made more sense, because then if they do another movie, it's like, okay, well, it's been all this time. What happened to Kylo? Where's Rey? It would have been, I don't know. It just, my final thoughts, guys. That's, I don't hate the movie. It's just, there's so many things that could have been done differently.
Missed opportunities.
And we could have had such a better ending to the Skywalker saga.
Yes.
But here we are, and thank you all for joining us.
Sir, well, really quick, sir. I want you, just if you wouldn't mind for me, give me your final summary of the sequel trilogy. What are your final thoughts?
Okay, so final thoughts. Strong start. I mean, almost immaculate start with The Force Awakens. We hit a doodad dud with The Last Jedi with a lot of storytelling and anyway. And then we get a very disappointing ending, and just a very, it was disappointing, lackluster, and I don't think I've even said this yet, but you nailed it. Just frankly lazy. I'm sorry, but it is lazy. You pandered to everybody, and you thought, okay, well, they love Star Wars, right? So they're going to love this. Doesn't matter. Well, let's just, we can get away with that. Yeah, you can get away with it because it's Star Wars, but does it mean you should do it? No. And I personally, I just feel like it was pretty lazy. I liked it again, but as the years have gone on and I've rewatched it several times, I will rewatch these movies daily if I really need to. But it's just, if you're a true lover of something, it's just like family. It's just like a partner. It's just like a kid or a dog or anything. Like, there's times where it frustrates you and it makes you really mad. And these movies, man, they're just, overall, it is a strong premise, frustrating instances, some reveals that not only is that lackluster, but it's lazy reveals. And just, as you said it, and I've said it, and we'll end it on here, for me at least, missed opportunities all around.
My thoughts are pretty much the same as you. Strong start, weak finish. I mean, that's the best way to summarize the sequel trilogy.
I hate saying that about Star Wars, but it's the
absolutely
it's the truth.
Absolutely. I mean, visually, all three of these movies are some of the best in the Star Wars series, visually, hands down. It was absolutely amazing to be back in the Star Wars world again with the movies. Regardless of what all the thoughts may be, it was really cool again to have Star Wars back on the big screens. It just was we were brought in with so much hype at the start. We left good out of Force Awakens, and it just took a nosedive, in my opinion, for me. Now we could sit there and say that, but the box office told us a different story. Box office numbers were what they were. I mean, you can't deny any of that at all. But I think we had so many opportunities that were just placed there that were left on the table. And I think that again, I really strongly believe that had we had a more firm direction to The Last Jedi, my opinion is we'd be sitting here talking about how awesome this trilogy is. I really, really do.
It's just missing that bridge.
Yes, absolutely. So that's my final take on this trilogy. Is beautiful visually, but strong start, weak finish. So that's gonna do it for this episode. We got through it here, sir. Guys, before I turn this back over to Rob, just to let you guys know, our next episode and our final one for this Star Wars discussion, we are going to be doing a discussion on the spin-off movies. We're going to be discussing Rogue One, Solo, and we are going to be discussing The Mandalorian and Grogu. So you're not going to want to miss that. We're going to have, I think with that one, we're going to have more fun with that one than actually like, we're deep diving into these We can
Yeah,
have some
they're
more
more
fun with those,
fun.
good or bad.
Yeah. So Solo is probably the weakest one for me out of those, but we'll get into.
Ooh, I don't know, man. But yes, yeah, we'll.
Oh, actually, no. Sorry, not Solo. The Mandalorian and Grogu is the for me at least is the weakest, not in the bad way, but is the weakest out of all three of those. But we'll get into that in the next episode.
Okay. All righty. So, Rob, do you want to go ahead and take us out, my friend?
All right, guys. So, as my lovely friend here just said, we are going to finish off this Star Wars run, at least for the live action movies, because I'm sure we're going to get to some of the animated stuff later on down the line, but we're going to get into stuff such as like Supergirl and many more DC and Marvel stuff later on. And trust me, that's going to be a fun time. Excuse me. So, once again, thank you for your support. I said it in the beginning, but I always take time to appreciate things because growing up, parents taught us appreciate where you came from, never forget where you came from, and never forget those who have helped you. And whether it's important to you all or not, this really means a lot to us. So thank you all so much for joining us. And we love talking about these things. So it's a way for us to just shine our inner nerds. So we both got a lot of good things coming up after individually on our channels as well. So as I said in the beginning, go over to James' channel, CineJames Movie Talks, and support him. Show him all the love you can. And we will definitely see you in the next one. But James, is there anything that you want to tell the folks at home before we go?
No, just I appreciate it, as a Big Rock Theory just said. Appreciate all the love and support. We have a great time doing this. This is a love that we have to talk about the cinema. And I definitely enjoy this time. And as we continue on here, moving past the Star Wars, when we get into our last episode, going through the Star Wars movies, we are going to have a fun time talking about the stuff with Supergirl and the DC. We have a really exciting episode coming up talking about the fandom of the DC universe. That always seems to be a hot topic. So we're going to have a really, really good episode talking about that. But we've got Supergirl coming up. We've got the new Spider-Man movie coming up. We've got a lot of stuff here on the way to talk about that's going to be really exciting. So please, guys, like, subscribe, stay tuned with us. We definitely appreciate all of your support.
All right, guys. And on that one, we shall see you in the next one. Take care. Cinema Bros are, the Super Cinema Bros are out. Thanks again, guys.